Hmm. Oh, look at that gray, tired old man. Who could that be? Could that be me? Wow. And I'm snobbering all over myself, too. All right. I'm in. I'm live. Holy moly. The number of times I thought I was going to start going live, and then I just gave up. I was just too freaking worn out. What am I doing? Is that better? Okay. I want to be able to bring in Discord so I can bring in my little friends. Hello, Alan. Malventano. How are ya? No, we're streaming. It took me this long just to get the damn computer running. I have walked the dog, and I do this every day now. I walk the dog, which is just a normal thing. Not particular. I don't even walk as long as I used to. I get home, and I am a freaking mess. I'm like crawling around. Anyways, so I was like, screw it. I'm going live. We're talking anyways. Damn it. Whether I make sense or not, let's show the world. How you doing? Have you got this thing yet? Have you got this COVID thing yet? No. I've been vaxxed to death too. I've been like vaxxed to death. I've been away from everybody. I'm convinced I got it from my doctor. Oh, here you go. Well, welcome to the club. It's good to have you. I feel like we're all gonna just get this one. I mean, like I don't see a way around it. It seems so incredibly like virulent. Not virulent. Virulent's the wrong word. Transmissible. If that makes sense. Oh, you can't hear Discord. Oh shoot! Hang on a second. Wait a second. No one can hear Discord. That's not good. So you're talking. No, and nobody else is hearing. Okay, let's have a look. As always, my wonderful system has updated itself, and so God knows what it's trying to do.
Made to happen. Would you like to do anything additional out of that? Like, I don't know, build a computer or something if I happen to be in the area. You know what I mean? Like
That would be cool.
There's a lot of maybes here. You know,
now, can we hear? Sorry, let me just check the Discord now. Can people hear what you're saying now? Can people hear Alan now? This is a hype train. Oh my God, I haven't even got started yet.
Can you hear me?
People can hear you now. We can hear it. Oh, very good. Okay.
Anybody
Yeah,
hear?
because of course, for some reason, my wonderful system likes to update Windows and then change freaking everything.
Yeah,
That's how it rolls. Sorry. Okay, so you're saying if you're like in town or something, we could just like we'll do like a video.
I mean, do you want to build? I don't know. Whatever. What would be handy
could we build?
to do if I happened to be there? Do we need to build you a NAS?
Ooh, fancy NAS.
Is your Drobo still okay? Do we need to?
My Drobo's like I'm so impressed with that Drobo. I got to say, like it's slow as molasses. Like it's like
that's the thing we can address. I just didn't know.
But my network's not particularly fast anyway, so I don't feel like it would do much anyways, right?
Right. Yeah, and you're using the Drobo as more like long-term.
Oh God, yeah. I just dump crap.
It's a city
I
dump.
could organize it, or I could just send it to the Drobo.
Yes, and that's
a lot of
very
that.
much like how my NAS works. Except you got to be careful because one day you'll look at the capacity of it, and it will be 519 terabytes.
Yeah, that's where. Is that where you're at now?
As I look over at the other screen for the NAS status, yeah.
I was amazed how fast I got to like. I think I'm. What am I at now? I think to be honest, I think I went to a safety mode. Like I went to that sort of like split mode where it saves a bunch of drives, just in case. So I think I'm at like 30 terabytes or something at this point.
Yeah, so you're probably doing the 2-drive redundancy.
Yeah, I've just lost so much stuff, and my wife. I'm amazed my wife has stayed with me given the number of photos we've lost over the years. You know what I mean?
Well, that's if it's, and remember, also always throw the disclaimer. Even though that's RAID and it's a Drobo, it's still not technically a backup.
No, exactly, and it's live.
Yeah,
it's on the system.
That's my other worry. Yeah, okay, so maybe we can increase your security of your data. While I happened to be there, right? Maybe we could do that. But it sounds like we don't need to go rebuilding you some new.
Well, let me ask you this. So, And I'm sorry that we finally get a chance to talk and I immediately throw us live. But, I just figure it's a good way.
Okay.
It's incredibly efficient for me because it means that I'm actually getting, I'm doing my streaming and I'm chatting at the same time.
We just need to work out the details of like the when and how. And
yes.
whatever.
Yeah. And that's
all.
Yeah. And just throw me some dates and we'll work out.
We'll figure it out.
I'll run it by Jane because Jane knows where we are. And I think this summer, I'm sort of hoping that we're here this summer. I'm hoping.
I think my wife's got some stuff going on like the middle of August forward that we couldn't do it after that.
I think we're around, but I don't. Again, Jane often like just doesn't tell me we're getting on a plane until I actually have to get on the plane because she doesn't like to, But she does make.
And the other thing,
a wicked.
The other thing I got to figure out is apparently, if you try to travel to Canada, U.S. back and forth, you've got to have like a 2-week contingency plan for in case you catch.
Are they still doing that?
I don't know. I got to make sure. So we'll see. But so it's a little more cumbersome for the travelers. And
stupid Canadians.
As far as I understand it, yeah, you just got to have.
But it's worth it because they're in Canada. Oh my God, my wife makes the most. Whenever she asks like, what kind of cake to make, I always say, just make the carrot cake. And it's so good.
My wife just made carrot cake.
Oh God, it's the
best. This might be David. This might be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
We're sure we want to get these two.
Yeah, we're gonna get. It's true. And the next thing you know, we're gonna be like 14,000 pounds. I'm working on it now.
My wife makes a killer cheesecake, man.
Nice cheesecake.
The only belly I have is that's
Yeah, I blame my entire belly on her for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we got lots of people to thank. Paperclips, thank you so much. I'm going to be totally off base on all of this, guys, because I'm honestly operating. I think I'm operating on I'm on maybe 2 cylinders. Of my 8 cylinders, I would say 2 of them are running right now. I'm a complete freaking mess. Dr. Quest MD, that sounds cool. All right, so this is the question I wanted to ask you. Something that I keep coming across with filmmakers is that they end up, these indie filmmakers, they make their film, and then what do you do with it? Like, most of them are dumping them on these giant drives and then saying, hey, Dave, put them in your basement. And I'm like, I'll put them in my basement, but my basement's probably the worst place for them because knowing me, I'll go like, oh, a hard drive.
Hold on. Back up a second. I've thought about this. This has like crossed my mind a couple of times. And I was kind of wondering, like, what are you guys doing as far as, you pour a bunch of effort and work.
It's a free-for-all,
right? And where the hell are you putting it when it's done, and how good is that? Because like there have been artists. I mean, there's some pretty good stories on at least the music side where some musician was working on pouring their heart and soul into something and getting collaborations with a bunch of other artists. I think there's one musician he goes by BT, does like sort of techno. I don't want to call it trance, but it's like
I never know the different terms. Is it vocal house or is it deep bass or is it? I never know.
No, it's like vocals with like he did this big collaboration thing, right? And like somebody broke into his house and stole his equipment, right? Including the data, right? And
that happened. That happened to the composer on Jane's last film. They were having their house renovated.
Yeah.
And just I guess a workman decided to walk in and walked off with all of his equipment. Luckily, he had backups because he's a pro.
Yes.
But
exactly.
Still.
So like yes, and so why is there? Are there people still doing the free for all thing? Like that just kind of baffles me. Like why wouldn't they? We
have copies of other people's films.
There's need to be like a fixer guy. Like that, hey, this is the guy. He'll tell you what to do, and like,
here's what you got to do.
They call in the guy, and it shows up.
They got to break. What was the guy's name in Reservoir Dogs? It was Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah, in Pulp Fiction, I forget the guy's name.
See the fixer? It was Harvey Keitel, right?
Yeah. The fixer, and he goes, you get the blankets. Yeah. You get this. I'll write you a check for the furniture. Like
I'm Mr. HG, hard drives. Well, I think. Well, I'll tell you what happens that I see so far is that there's usually if you go through like a big post-production house, they will keep a copy of it. But I don't know how long they keep it for, and I don't know. Like it's very possible that they just toast it after a few months after, or a couple of years, or whatever, a year after they've done the work. I don't know, but no one's paying storage that I'm aware of to people for that. I have a couple of drives that people have given me for films that are like a backup of the film that they have, that is being released and it's out there. So, I mean, but like even a perfect example, Dog's Breakfast. Dog's Breakfast is just on 1 or 3/4 inch tape or something. Like it's just a bunch of tapes in a cardboard box in our garage. I don't know where else it would be. Like it's available on DVD and stuff, obviously not very well, but thank you MGM. But it's
digital. So they did the conversion when they released the DVD, I assume, right? You shot it on film.
We shot it on HD at the time. So, and what's interesting is when they actually finished it, it was one of the first times they'd done finishing in HD, and there were focus issues, there were all sorts of stuff because the old cameras, right? The old cameras. Yeah. Used to like overheat as the camera got warmer, the lens would move further and further away, or the sensor would move further and further away from the lens. So you'd have these very subtle or very distinct focus problems with stuff. But anyway, look, it was a little movie. It was great. It worked perfectly for us. But
don't you have like some master source or closest to source digital copy somewhere of at least that movie that you did?
We might. Like on DVDs, maybe. No,
I would have thought it was on your.
No. And again, we didn't have. Oh my god, another Hype Train success. I've got to say, look, thank you to everyone who's been subscribing and stuff. Pac Mom, you're a freaking hero. I just talked to Pac Mom the other day. She's just basically just entirely, she's completely changed her life entirely. Gone back to school, become like a freaking pro, and it's amazing. I was just catching up with her the other day, and I'm so freaking proud of her. Anyways, but thank you to everyone for all of the subscriptions and stuff. It's much appreciated. I'm not going to try to scroll through it because I'm just too freaking confused at this point. So we look. There's a good chance if I asked Jane, she might have a rough idea what part of the house they might be in. But this is the problem. Like a lot of these films, that's where they're going, and they're all in digital format, right? So I actually didn't like take a serious plunge into it, but I talked to a couple of sort of data backup companies because I thought, well, maybe I could just buy like a chunk of space and start putting some of our stuff on there because I don't want them in the house. Like I don't want these giant freaking hard drives. They're just gonna, by the time someone wants to actually, God forbid someone would actually have to use them. By the time they do, they'll be like, oh, let me just get the WD-40 on it to get the rust off before we start that hard drive up. You know what I mean?
So you're still going to want the local copy. I would say, so those people that are like passing you drives saying, hey, David, put this in your basement, right? That's honestly a really good idea because they're probably doing that. That's not their only copy that they're giving you, right? They just made a copy, probably, hopefully, right?
I just don't want them in my basement.
Well, but it's somebody they know and trust.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right? Because they know that you're not going to go and like leak it on the internet or whatever, right?
Well, it's not even that. I think it's honestly, I think it's just they know I'm a nerd, and I'm not going to go like, what's this box? Oh, I guess I'll use it for photos.
Right.
How do I bring you in? Let me see.
Take a step back and just think of the concept of that, right? It's like, hey, you have something important, right? Say you did finally figure out, okay, where's my master copy of Dog's Breakfast, right? And you're just like, okay, here's my copy.
Right.
If my house burns down, what happens? Right? It's gone. Right? And so you just want at least a copy somewhere else. Right? That's the idea.
That's the frustrating thing, isn't it? You really do you just need to have it there.
Yeah. And so there's other ways to do that. Yes, the low tech, sneaker net is the term for it. Way is just make a copy of it on some drive, some external drive, whatever. Give it to a friend of yours. Give it to somebody. Get it out of your house, basically, right?
Right.
Make it so that if your house burns down, you're still covered.
Right. Don't say that. GitPG could be listening.
Well, I mean, yeah.
GitPG's a perfect example, actually. Yeah.
Point, right? Yes,
exactly. Yeah.
Actually, is he coming?
Oh, he might. Yeah. We'll see. Okay. We'll see. I think Vibe Pup's already in the chat. Vibe, are you in there?
I see him in there.
Oh yeah. Hi.
Hey, Vibe. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I just got home from school
not
long ago.
You're back in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I think I got it from you through the microphone. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, go, Alan. Yeah.
So yeah, you get a copy somewhere else. So those people giving you drives, and hey, as long as you don't mind sticking an extra couple of drives in your basement with your other box, because they know you probably have a box of freaking hard drives.
Right. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know, right.
I do
mean,
actually literally have a
too,
box of hard drives. Yeah.
I too have a box of hard drives. Is that I'm one step crazier, so all of my box of hard drives is all installed in a server and running right now.
Yeah,
All at
and
the
is
same
running
time.
crypto or something, right? And making you money in some way, shape, or form, isn't it? Or at least heating the house.
Some of them are, yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to make use of themselves other than just taking up space in a box.
Right.
But there's other ways to do it, right? There's other ways to get the thing out of your house. It just doesn't have to be like on a drive to another person's house. Like internet connections are getting fast enough now where it's at least reasonable to upload a bunch of data.
And that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
That's what
so
I want to do. I
if you
want
have
to
fiber-
upload it. Yeah.
Well, fiber connection. I don't know. What do you have? You have fiber? What do you
Well, it's that Bell fake fiber thing. They call it fiber, but they spell it different, and it's I think it is actually fiber. It is fiber, but I don't know that it's entire fiber speeds. But
The key to it is how much upstream bandwidth you have. Is that a decent number? Can you send
pretty good.
at a decent rate? Okay.
It is pretty good.
As long as
Yeah.
you can do that, then there are other services you can tap. This might be a little bit of a dated suggestion, but I mean, there's different tiers of like Amazon does crazy amounts of storage if you wanted to. There's another company called Backblaze that does it too.
Yeah.
Backblaze, they have a pretty cheap plan where the only catch is it has to be like locally attached storage, but it's like an unlimited amount of storage space. But
As
it
long
has
as
to be
it's
like-
attached to my network or something.
No. Like the drive in your system. Like they have some. It's a cheaper tier that's just like, hey, whatever's on your system, we'll back it up, right? And sometimes there's crazy ways around that. Like you can get a different Drobo that's a direct attached one instead of a network attached one, and technically that's direct attached. And then you could, but the more like legitimate / supported ways of doing it on the cheap, because you want it on the cheap, right? It's something that you don't expect to have to access because it's a backup, right? But the only reason you would want it to actually re-download it is if some catastrophe happened and you lost your local copy, right?
Well, or I mean, or like if we wanted to do like a re-release or something. I mean, that would be
Yes.
You'd want.
Well, but you should still keep the local copy, right? The point is to have something else to cover you in case the local copy goes away.
God, it gets expensive with the backups, though, doesn't it? I mean, that's
Well, yes, and there's other ways around it. So Amazon has a thing called Glacier.
yes,
So they have Amazon.
yes, I looked into that.
Okay.
But go ahead,
that's good.
explain it for everyone else because I'm not
So
sure
the
that I
idea
get it
there
either.
is it's a pretty cheap storage tier. They charge you, I mean, it's literally like pennies for them to hold on to the thing. Where you pay a lot of money is when you want to pull it out,
Right.
right? Because their idea, you have to think about what Amazon's doing on the back end. It's probably literally offline. Like they probably put it on a bunch of drives and then they're not going to keep paying for power, right? They just, whatever those drives are, or little modules full of drives, like they literally just spin them down. So there'll be like some racks in the data center that are
Which
just
is totally fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. I love that idea because it's cheaper, right? I mean, that's
Yeah. It's like it's about as cheap as you can get. It's probably as long as you don't need to pull it back off, it's probably cheaper than if you had to buy extra drives and send them to other people.
Well, and this is what I find is like people are like sending me like I've got these like giant G drives, like those are expensive systems. I mean, those are
that's just a poor choice. That's like you don't need the crazy high-end external drive just to back the thing up because really what's inside there, you open it up, it's just like a Western Digital drive or something.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, there's nothing it's just the only fancier part of that is the enclosure.
I just had one fail, so I backed it up as best as I could, but it was sort of just being used for crap anyways. But as always, it's one of those things that I'll go like, oh, like a year from now, I'll go like, oh, right.
Well, and there's another. That's the other thing I was kind of wondering about. Like, is there not like some storage consultant kind of person, or at least someone that can be tapped, in your area? Because yes, you can. Like, I've had people like, I had a photographer person that I knew. They had a drive, external drive, but years and years worth of all their professional work stored on it.
Yeah.
It was their only copy, right? And what happened? They knocked it over, right?
Oops! I knocked over my bubbly. Yeah, that's
while
that's
it was running, right?
Right.
And it was enough to basically bounce the drive head off of a part of the disk to make it so that the disk could no longer mount, right? All of the data wasn't completely gone. It's just that it was no longer in a condition where you can get to it as a regular person, right?
Right, without like taking the drives apart and putting in new.
Well, no, it didn't even need that.
Oh, really?
For this one, it didn't even need. Yeah, there's different layers you can go through. Like in many cases, you just need some special tools to talk to the drive in such a way that it doesn't get hung up trying to read the bad spot. And if you can get around that bad spot in certain ways, then there's.
Do you have a favorite tool for that? Like, is there like a specific tool that you like?
There's a tool I have called a Rapid Spar, which is like just a. I did a review of it for PC Perspective, so there's a review floating around there from years ago.
Rapid Spar. Sounds cool.
Yeah. The company that makes it is called DeepSpar. They're the company that provides most of the data recovery hardware to, like, if you send a drive out to a professional place for them to recover your stuff, they're probably using equipment from this company.
Huh.
Right? But they tried to make more of an entry-ish kind of level piece of equipment that wasn't necessarily the multiple $1,000 crazy piece of recovery equipment, right? But it was at least something that was, hey, mom and pop computer shop wants to be able to recover random customers' data, or at least have a shot at doing
Still
it,
like
right?
$1,800. Wow.
For the Rapid Spars, $1,800.
Yeah. Rapid Star. Well, at Rapid Star Plus data acquisition add-on is I don't know.
Yeah.
It says Rapid Star software suite is $1,700.
Yeah, I guess the prices went up on that too.
I don't know why. I don't know why I resist that, because I guess because I know how much work goes into these things. I'm of that Commodore 64 era where I'm like, why is it worth? Why are you charging for it?
Well, remember, okay, so the equipment itself, most of where the charge of that equipment is coming in for like all of the research, all the R&D that those guys have to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, I totally get it. It's like medicine as well. It's the same thing, right? I mean, you put a lot of money into pharmaceutical stuff. I mean, you got to make your money back.
But it's even worse because the volume that those guys are selling is super low, right? There's only so many people that are buying data recovery hardware, right? And not only that, when you buy it...
Oh, is it hardware?
The Rapid Spar is a piece of hardware.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was software. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, he's looking for it. He's got it right there. I just happen to have this Rapid Spar right here.
Hold on. Yeah,
I just happen to have this $1,700 piece of software. Hardware.
No, but the thing is, it's kind of like in a Pulp Fiction case.
There you go. Wow. Okay.
You open it up, and
Will it glow? Will your face glow when you open it up?
Actually, damn it.
See, you could have had your little LED going. It would have been there. Oh, nice. There you go. That's it.
This is what's in the case.
We're going to start dancing. What is it?
We finally know what's in the Pulp Fiction case.
It looks like an old calculator or a Game Boy. What is that? Oh, is that Gimpy G here? Sorry, Gimpy G. You here as well?
Gimpy snuck in.
Yeah.
Hey, Gimpy.
Hey, you guys.
He's just geeking out in the background. Gimpy, we're playing Magic the Gathering tonight, by the way.
Oh, cool.
I don't know when, but we're going to... I gotta play.
An obituary for you, David.
You got what?
So I wrote an obituary for you.
Yeah, please.
Nice.
Well, save it. I might need it still.
Well,
I might still need it.
About an obituary.
Yeah, the dog walk. The dog walk almost killed me again today, so we'll have to. Yeah. All right. So what have you got? You've got this. You've got some kind of a. You got your Game Boy.
The box itself, it looks like a big Game Boy. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
And it comes with a bunch of cables to attach it to every possible kind of drive. Right. Like the little M.2 drives, the hard drives. Like you could basically plug anything into it. SD cards.
Oh, it'll save SD cards as well.
Yeah. Well, it'll do its best to read from them. Right. Because there's many ways that a drive can fail where it's just failed enough to not let you get your stuff the easy way.
I feel like I've failed that way. I failed just enough so people don't really get any entertainment out of me anymore. But yeah. Okay.
But usually there's still plenty of ways around it to where you don't have to actually do surgery and crack the drive open and start swapping out parts.
Right.
There's I would say probably at least 50% of your regular kind of I can't get my data
before you're in a clean room type thing. Before you're in a clean room taking it apart.
That's the clean room is probably like the top the worst 10% of those failures. Right.
And it's just so prohibitively expensive. It's got to be data that you're not like. We just couldn't face doing. I lost a raid. I told you about this years ago, but I lost a raid and went into data recovery. And eventually, my wife just said, "Look, it's just not worth the many thousands of dollars we're going to spend on it." So.
Yes, exactly. And I had a similar thing happen to me, and that's part of what. I kind of like rolled my sleeves up and figured it out. At that time, that was like way early on. When
you just went full in. You just like went down the rabbit hole and went right into data recovery.
I was like, you know what? I don't have the money to do this, but I have an infinite amount of time. right? And the drives aren't going anywhere,
Infinite, I knew it.
right?
He is immortal.
Is it
So
what?
yeah,
What's that?
What did you say, Gimpy?
yeah.
He said he has infinite amount of time, and I knew he was immortal by looking
Oh, sorry.
Yes, of course. The immortal. The immortal. We call him just the immortal. The immortal is visiting us today.
I
Exactly.
don't know about that one.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm feeling
so,
very mortal today.
So in my case, it was just it was a case in point. Good reason you have your 2-drive redundancy thing checked on your Drobo. I was using single drive redundancy. This was like a long time ago though. Like it was only a 2 terabyte array, but it was 6 drives. And
You were a child. Yeah.
400 gig drives or something.
Right.
And I had one fail and then replaced it. And while it was rebuilding the failed one, another one failed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's your worst case scenario for that. And that's the exact reason why you check that extra box and you get those 2 drives of redundancy, because then you can, because once one drive fails and you only have one drive of redundancy, you're literally just like anything else, hiccups.
Well, and you often buy all the drives at the same time anyway, so you get a whole chunk of stuff that's all of the same.
Yes, that was the problem. I had gotten a bad batch when I ordered those drives, and I just had a cascade. 2 drives failed, and it turned out those were like after all was said and done, years later, those were just known as one of the really bad.
I always love that. I always love that after the fact, you always find out, oh yeah, no, they were terrible. They had lots of problems with them. Why did you sell them to me then? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I sent one drive off to a recovery place. Usually data recovery places, if it's a raid, they expect you to send all of the drives to them because they're the experts. They're trying to piece it all back together. But as you personally experienced, they wanted several $1,000s to do that recovery, right? So I kind of sweet talked him on the phone and was like, well, I know this one drive's bad. Can you just do a full recovery of this one drive? Take your best shot, right? So they took their best crack at it. Couldn't get anything. Right. Because the drive, it was literally just like one of the heads just was repeatedly crashing, just like wiping all of the media off of the platter.
Yeah, right.
It was
right.
Right. They said they opened it up and it was like a bloodbath in there of like little metal.
Oh God. There you go.
All over the place. Yeah. But I was still able to recover because the second drive to fail during the rebuild only failed like a couple of sectors went bad.
Right.
So all the rest of the stuff was there. So I had to go and roll my sleeves up, buy even bigger hard drives, make an even bigger RAID to take all of the images of all the other drives. I had to copy all of the individual.
Oh my God, the images are huge. Yeah.
Yes, it was the whole drive. It was just a copy of the whole drive in a file, right? And then I had to go through and figure out, okay, let me stitch all this back together and figure out how this was originally my RAID. And then I, got the only thing that was screwed up was like any things that were modified, within the 3-day period where the first drive failed and the second drive failed.
Right.
Oh,
so God, it's so frustrating because I find that it's a bit like, I mean, Gimpy, we were talking about this with your house, where like when you have something catastrophic like that happen to either a hard drive or a house, you keep discovering stuff that you didn't realize you've lost after the fact.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And that's actually,
that's another important concept of the backups is to like test your backups. That's the point where you're making sure that, okay, let's put myself in this scenario where everything here went away or everything in this machine just is gone, right? What do I have left? Right. And then you go through and you go, okay, where's my backup? Okay, can I actually read the backup?
Right. Yeah, I've been there before where you do the fancy old tape drive days where I used to do these big backups for this company I worked for. And then every so often you'd be just like, you'd run one and be like, nope, that didn't work at all. That's great.
Nope. Yeah. And a lot of times people will think that their backup system, once ideally you want it scripted, you want it to just be running where you don't even think about it, so that way it's at least nobody forgot to do it, right? And that's a pro. But the con is if you're not thinking about it, something eventually will go sideways and you didn't know because it was out of sight, out of mind, right?
Until you go to need it. Yeah.
Until you go, oh crap, let me go and pull this back, and then you realize, oh yeah, this has been broken for like the past 2 months, and it was overwriting itself with garbage. right?
But this is why I like the idea of the online thing, though, like the cloud thing, because first off, all of the infrastructure is being dealt with by someone else, which I like. So you're assuming they've got redundancy and all sorts of stuff. Well, assuming, I guess that could make an ass of you and me too, couldn't it? But
no, there's redundancy, right?
Yeah.
Like Amazon, any Amazon storage tiers, unless they specifically tell you that it's not, redundant, is most likely is, right? Because it's not just you as a customer's data that's sitting on that set of drives.
It's everyone.
It's a bunch of people,
Yeah.
right? And they can't, just doesn't make good business sense for them to set it up in such a way where, one drive failed, 20 customers get to just buy. You get to,
I would love that. I mean, I would just love, though, to be able to dump everything somewhere else. Like yes, I know we need hard drives and all the rest of it here, but I think even just the logistics of that, like I do backups randomly.
Yes, you should have you should do multiple tiers. So you should have at least some form of the important stuff that's on your computer, just your regular computer you're using.
Right.
That
But that's
should
all in
be
the that's all in the cloud now, anyways, because it's all just Gmail and
as long as you're doing Gmail and other stuff, and you're using Dropbox
and Evernote, and
yeah. As long as you have a small enough set of stuff on the computer that it's reasonable to do the cloud thing, that's fine, and you're covered, right? Not only are you covered for a backup, but it's like not even on the premises anymore, so even better, right? But there's still plenty of people that can't necessarily do that, right? Like we just went to the zoo and took, I don't know, my wife and I each took like 1,000 pictures. Right. That's not going to fit in our Dropbox easily, or at least it's a pain in the butt. If you just constantly put that much stuff in there, you're just going to be paying more and more money for larger and larger.
Yeah, we're
Dropbox.
getting pretty big with both Google and Dropbox for that matter.
Right. So sometimes you need to pare that back a little bit and say, okay, here's this big chunk of stuff. I'm going to handle this myself. It's not going to be in the Dropbox thing. But when you do that, you just got to remember, okay, well, that's got to go, in your case, on my Drobo, right? And if it goes on the Drobo, if I moved it to it, now that's the only copy. How important is that stuff? Do I want to make sure that if the Drobo, goes up in flames, could happen, very unlikely, but right, always pretend that anything you put data in is a black box that can disappear.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
No, I agree. I mean, so I guess the thing that gets me is that truly the most critical stuff for most people are the smaller files, are the little files, are the emails, are the
text.
all the document stuff. But the reality is, for filmmakers,
Those files are big.
Those files are huge. Absolutely huge, especially now that they're recording in I think Jane's last movie was recorded in 6
6K or 8K.
6K. I think it was 6K. And then they would downres to 2K to actually do the not downres, whatever they call it. To 2K
it's basically a downres. Yeah. Well,
but you still need to store those 6K files, right?
Yes. Yeah. And they're usually in a very low compression raw type video format.
Yeah,
so
because
they're really big.
Yeah, and the compression is basically you don't want any more compression done than is on the camera anyways. In fact, in most cases they want it as raw as possible. So
well that's the trick with compression, is that when you do the first round of compression on a thing, if it's a lossy compression, right?
You're just going to get worse.
Compression algorithms are usually good for one round only. Meaning that the compression algorithm will look at stuff at the video to try to pick out stuff that humans are least likely to notice if it was gone, right? Right. And then when it gets decompressed, right, when you're playing it back, but that's only if you do that, and then you only had the compressed copy, and then you decompress it again to do another round of editing or something else to it, and then you recompress it again, that same algorithm is now working with a lot less source information, right?
Which is so confusing.
Usually is the one where you really notice a visual, or even for audio, even if it's an audio file in MP3s or whatnot. The second round of compression, the recompression, is where you really take a hit on the quality of it, right?
And there's a lot of sort of security features now on the cameras where basically you can't really download files from it. You actually have to take it in a kind of a package that is then opened up by another piece of software to stop exactly that, because they don't want people saving files and then recompressing them because of course you lose stuff.
And part of that is that those types of formats, it's probably like red cameras and probably other stuff that he was using, probably better than reds. But
this guy was using, the Ari is the one that everyone loves now.
Okay, yeah,
which I don't
It's
understand.
high end. They will usually have. They're not like necessarily trying to lock people in with those proprietary-ish kind of formats. It's just that those formats are like they're trying to get the least amount of compression possible. In many cases, they want lossless.
Yeah.
They want to. You need to compress it to make it practical to try to fit it on the thing because the pure raw video is a really huge. Like you think those files are big, how you're talking about them. If you took the just bit for bit, and stored it in a file, it would probably be 2 to 3x.
Well,
size.
dude, I did some visual effects for like very simple effects for a film a friend did, just like adding some snow and some rain and stuff to the image, but they were 4K images, and even just that, even just like generating the files, I was like, holy crap, this is like, it was like 20 minutes ago, which is why I need GimpyG's 3090. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to ask a technical question.
You get in here. This is the man.
No. You're saying compression can really make things look awful?
Yeah.
So in your expert
lossy
opinion,
compression can really make things look awful.
This is going to be something about me, isn't
it? In your opinion, does David look
shut up.
compressed like that?
I look like crap now, but it's got nothing to do with compression. It's just the way. It's just called age and depression and frustration. I could see it. At first, I had this momentary glimpse of hope that I thought maybe GimpyG's really getting into this tech thing, and then I was like, no, he's not.
Twist the knife he installed several months ago.
That's it. He can't even move, but he can twist the knife. Gimpy, how are you doing on getting your tech back? Is there any word on that at all? Because Gimpy had a beautiful setup. He had like a 3090 and what was? Do you know what was the CPU you're using on that?
It was the 5950X AMD.
Yep.
Yeah. Any word on that?
It was all top of the line. It looks. I'm guessing we're gonna have to do wires and things.
Oh, really? Oh, it's just.
It's gotten awful.
Oh, crap. Gimpy, I'm so sorry. What a
That's okay, buddy.
pain in the ass.
They've charged us like 200 and some thousand just for like clothing and things, like to clean them. And we got like boxes.
You were wondering why they were cleaning everything instead of just getting you new stuff. Because they can charge you for it.
And then we get it back and it all smells like smoke. My sister washes it once. Just like regular wash. And they smell fine. And that was like $49,000. And we didn't do it. The insurance company okayed it, but now supposedly that's between us and this company. And so they ran through a good portion of the money that would be used to rebuild the house.
Is going on cleaning clothes. Wonderful.
Cleaning clothes and supposedly electronics, but I can't check what they've got, what they don't have. And I can't say, okay, do you have a quad stick? And they're like, what? Or do you have a head mouse? I have no idea what I'm talking about. And that's if I can talk to them. Oh, and you'll love this one, David, because I couldn't speak to them. Like I've tried month after month to call them. And they're charging me $900 a month for storage. And you can't get a hold of them. So, woo-hoo.
They're charging you to store the stuff that they're not. Oh boy!
Just have.
Does anybody have a good story with insurance? I don't know anybody who's had a good experience with insurance companies. And
I don't know.
It's
just
on the plus side, what was that? Sorry, Vibe Pup. What were you saying?
What do you think that they purposely make them hard to use, the insurance companies? So
I think you may be onto
they
something.
don't have to pay out. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that's a really good point, Vibe.
Years, buddy.
Yeah, I think that's it. The more difficult
it doesn't come out.
And they make it difficult because eventually people just go like, oh, for F's sake, I'm just going to buy my own computer, whatever. You know what I mean? Or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, we'll have to talk. We'll have to talk about this more over Magic the Gathering or something. But that's that is a drag. Am I familiar with?
Totally separate, but there was a big fire in Boulder, and it destroyed like 1,000 houses right before Christmas.
Whoa.
And apparently, all of those people have like $500,000 in insurance, but to rebuild now is $800,000 because of the building costs. So all of these people aren't going to be able to rebuild their house. Like 1,000 people.
I'm surprised there isn't something written into the contract about that. Like that if the prices have gone up, then it should be comparable or something. Have you ever had to do an insurance claim, Alan? Have you had to do anything big insurance wise?
Thank goodness, no. Not to Gimpy G's level. I've never had an entire house burned down or anything.
The best experience I ever had with insurance was when we bought the house in California, and it came with homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like there was a period of time between getting the house from the guy that owned it before and us having it that was covered by this insurance, and then you could renew it, and it covered
a 1-year plan. That throw in.
And it was amazing because it covered like during the first year, like the heater blew up in the pool.
Yep.
So we got the heater replaced, and then it was like, and then I can't remember, there was a couple of other issues with some plumbing and stuff. Again, all covered because of this homeowners thing. So I would do that again, but this home insurance thing just sounds like or car insurance for that matter, just sounds like a bit of a scam.
It is, but if you don't get it, then it's your fault.
Yeah, then you're truly screwed. Yeah.
Yeah. There are some good examples of insurance companies out there, but not many. And I'm fortunate because I was military and I got this thing called USAA, which is like a big military insurer in the U.S. And they deal with primarily military people. Then they kind of like
guys,
So it's like they.
Yeah, don't mess with a guy who runs nuclear subs. Probably a bad idea.
I don't know. I mean, they do Marines and all the other branches as well. But like, there's something about that they take that very seriously, and they have like the pride kind of shows that they have. Like they actually care about doing.
Work, you would think that the insurance company looking after Gimpy G would maybe want to take some pride in that as well. But
you would think, right. So I kind of lucked out there. Like that's probably one of the benefits of having been military, at least in the States.
Although I know there was a big fuss because wasn't there was a apparently there's this they burn when they're on, I was gonna say on location. I'm such an actor. When they're like out in combat around the military bases, they burn the garbage. Apparently, they burn.
Oh yeah.
And there was a huge thing. Yeah, it was a huge thing about these clouds of crap that was just not killing people immediately, but making them very, very sick.
Well, that was a different kind of insurance issue.
Was it?
I'm talking. Yeah, USA does like car and home insurance.
Oh, so it's not like actual.
The thing you're talking about is medical insurance, which the military also kind of has a good one, but they also don't have the best of stories, because military, like if you're retired military, you get like coverage basically for life.
Right.
Through their own,
you probably should, frankly.
You
do the work.
But the issue is that the company is called the VA.
Oh yeah.
And so you have this organization that's charged with like trying to take care of every prior military person.
Right.
And it's a thing that's run by the USA is a civilian, it's regular company. It's not a military company, but the VA is a military operation. Right. So you have this thing that's trying to do medical insurance, but they're actually military. They are part of the military technically, or they're government organization, and we all know government organizations sometimes screw things up.
They're always so fast and efficient at things, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. So that's what the issue was. You had you had all these claims coming in for people that were over there doing their job. Basically,
how do we prove that you're feeling lethargic and not feeling well, and that your lung cancer has something to do with the
right? Yeah, and even I ran into one of those weird things, because like the atmosphere on the submarine did a number on my skin.
Oh really?
Really?
Oh yeah. Like I have to, even before I came on here, I had to like I can't go like a day or two without it looking like I am just something out of a horror movie. Like my skin like just tries to flake off.
Really?
And it doesn't. I don't know. And I'm pretty. It didn't start until I was on the submarine.
Huh.
and I'm pretty sure it was just due to exposure of one of the chemicals that they use to get CO2 out of the air on the submarine. Because the whole submarine smells like a submarine has a specific kind of smell to it. Well, there's a few smells, but like one of those smells is like the chemical that they're, all of the air has to pass through this chemical to pull the CO2 out. That's how that system works, right? And so as a result, the air all has a little bit of that stuff in it, right? And it's not a great chemical.
Right.
What was the longest you were ever submerged?
It was pretty much 3 months every time. The kind of submarine I was on.
Gosh.
Well, there's other ones that go way longer. The only reason mine only did 3 months at a shot was because it was a ballistic missile submarine. That those submarines have 2 crews, and the crews trade off every 4 months. So you generally wouldn't go. Maybe I went like 3.5 months one time or something. But like you can't really hit the 4-month point because you're supposed to trade the other guys. Like it's their turn.
Right.
So, but that's a ballistic missile sub. There's other subs called fast attack submarines that they're not the ones with the ballistic missiles that have to hide and shoot them. They're the ones that do the more, covert, sneaky stuff. Like,
the ones that probably aren't anywhere near Ukraine right now.
Oh yeah, no way. Yeah. By the way, that Soviet, the Russian ship
that fell over.
That was.
Yeah.
That fell over. Yeah. That that
Well, didn't they have a nasty accident with some fireworks or something? It was nothing related to the war, right?
Oh yeah. No. Not if you ask Putin, right?
No, of course not. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was planned. We planned on
special firework operation.
Yeah. We planned on sinking it there. That was the intention. Yeah.
We put out fire. We upgrade ship to submarine.
Nice.
Yeah, it's even more dangerous now that it's on the bottom of the ocean. But that was a nuclear vessel, wasn't it?
No. That was,
wasn't it?
Yeah. Regular. You don't go nuclear on the surface ships until you get to a carrier.
Oh, okay.
Generally speaking, there's a few like nuclear, like cruiser kind of things, but it's not. Usually you need it to be kind of big. The reason you do it on a submarine that's relatively small is just because,
you want to be nimble.
Yeah, you want to not have to, have exhaust going out.
Right.
It doesn't work under the water, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it does work. You can actually run the diesel submerged for a couple minutes on the submarine. Because it's using the oxygen in the submarine.
Right.
But
then you don't want to. Yeah, not generally the best. Yeah. Talking about your skin issues, that would probably be a little worse if they're running diesel.
No, the exhaust still goes out.
Oh, it does.
They can go up to a certain depth where the exhaust can still make it be pushed out against the seawater pressure.
Right.
But the suction's got to come from somewhere, so we'll just use this space, and then when you take off in an airplane and your ears are popping because the pressure's reducing. Yeah. Oh yeah, multiply that by 5, and that's what the whole space of the submarine does. Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, where the hell were we? Yeah. So fast attack submarines, they don't have a 3 or 4 month thing where they have to trade off with another crew. The crew is the crew. Like they don't switch off. They don't get to leave, right? So those guys can go 4 or 6 months. They're limited. They're literally limited by the food.
Right.
There's not really many other limits that aren't easily solvable. The food is the big one. Because you don't. You can.
What about fuel though? I guess they wouldn't need fuel because
nuclear.
The nuclear as well. They are.
Yeah, that limit is on the order of 20 years.
Wow. Wild.
Yeah, nuke subs usually go about 20 years.
It's so frustrating we're not using it more. It just I know there's problems, but still.
There's a lot of ways to screw it up is the problem.
I know. I mean, we've managed to screw up the safer version too already, haven't we? We already managed to screw up the gasoline version of
Well, so the thing that's weird is the ones on the submarines and on the carriers are built. They're just a different kind of reactor. They're built super, super safe. Even safer than anything like a civilian power plant would be, right?
And why? Because the technology's better, or because why are they? Because I would have thought
it's you need to make it more compact, and you don't need nearly as much power output as a full blown brick and mortar. Right.
Yeah.
Those guys are trying to do crazy high volume.
Yeah.
And the ones on the submarines and the carriers and stuff are designed in such a way that um, you know, when you do 20 years, yes, you're going to pull the thing in and do like a big refit and repair and
Right.
whatever, and you're actually going to shut it off.
Right.
They're designed to be shut off, right? Like you pull in, you don't need it anymore, you shut it down,
Right.
right?
And it's not a huge
civilian-
reaction taking place anyways, because it's just fueling the ship.
Well, so what's funny is that the fuel is actually even more concentrated on ships and subs. It's like super enriched, like almost perfectly pure uranium that's going to make heat, right? Whereas they don't. That's because you need it to be as small as possible, right? Whereas a big reactor plant,
Doesn't matter. Who cares? Yeah.
it doesn't. Well, there's a certain the smaller you make it, the more concentrated the fuel needs to be for you to even make like a self-sustaining reaction happen.
Right.
Because the neutrons or some neutrons are going to go out and not cause other fissions, and like so you need like your best shot at like making that thing run.
Right.
But the civilian power plants are more like, hey, it's all about dollars and cents. We're trying to make money.
Right.
I mean, they're there to make money, right? They're designed in a way that's not necessarily conducive to like, yes, they can shut it down, but it's not meant to be shut down, right?
Right.
A lot of these are meant to be like refueled while it's running. Like they're doing 100% power, and they're literally pulling fuel out and putting more fuel in.
Right.
It's just like continuously. You just do it in very small, like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. But the ones on the submarine, like you don't get to pull that fuel out. The only way you pull it out is by cutting the top off of the reactor vessel and literally and then the fuel comes out. That's like a big deal, right?
I remember reading. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So because of that, it has to be designed in a completely different way. It has to be designed and like it operates in a way that you're able to use. Like if you think about the fuel, it's like it's a rod. It's like so long. Well, the rod is there's control rods, but then the fuel is like a rod-shaped thing.
The control rods are basically jammed in there to stop the reaction. Is that not right, or to slow it down?
Hafnium absorbs neutrons. So
right.
The control rod.
All of these things sound so made up. It's just like.
Yeah, I know.
Cordium.
Adamantium.
Yeah. But the fuel cells, the big modules, right? Are like you have to make it in such a way that you have all this fuel, but you can't just use the fuel in the middle. So you have to design it in such a way that over the lifetime of the reactor, the fuel, you're actually using different parts of it.
Oh,
oh, that's interesting. Right? We thought of that. Huh.
Yeah, because it's like, and not only that, but you have to design it in such a way where it's literally, I don't want to call it like 3D printed, but it's like there's different concentrations of fuel in different places because you have to control, like you don't want it to be too hot in any one place.
So are they physically moving the stuff around then, or are they?
No. That's the beauty of it. It's all built in from the beginning to last 20 years.
Wow. And then you just replace it.
It's a really, that's the kind of stuff. Yeah, and then you replace the whole. You pull the whole fuel cells out
and just bury it in concrete in a desert somewhere.
Well, no. There's actually a place. Where the heck is it? There's like a nuclear reactor graveyard thing that's like you can see it on like Google.
In Utah, right? Like
Google. It's in Utah. It's out in the open. These containers just lined up, and you can actually pick out like like that's the reactor from that sub before it refueled, and that's the reactor from that other sub before it refueled. Like yeah.
And why? Because they're
from like carriers.
And because they're what are they doing with them? They're just like that's where they're stored.
They're stored. You want to store them for long enough for the fuel to decay enough for it to not be a problem anymore.
Like 1,000 years or something, isn't it? Or 10,000 years? It's ridiculous.
Well, it's uranium. Ideally, you don't have a lot of the uranium left by the time you.
Right. So you've basically used everything there is, anyways. So there's not.
They don't. The Navy doesn't like filling up the gas tank when it's still half full.
Right.
You're just like, here you go, put this thing off.
Keep driving. Yeah. Got it.
Basically.
Right.
Yeah. It actually gets to the point where when you're all the way at the end of life, if you shut off the reactor, you actually have to wait longer before you can start it back up. Because same thing from that Chernobyl movie.
Right. Yeah.
Where
Which was fascinating. Yeah.
They were doing this thing, and they reduced power for a certain amount of time. Well, when you reduce the power, there's this point, like some of the decay of some of the uranium byproducts is actually a poison. It actually acts like a control rod, and you have to wait for that to like decay away, right? Well, the later you get, the more of that gets in the way. So like if you're all the way at the end, it gets to a point where it's like it's harder to restart the car. Right?
That's like how I feel right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the toxins have slowed me down at this point. Yeah.
So there's actually a comical thing we can use. It's a nuclear industry term. It's EFPH.
EFPH?
Yeah, effective full power hours. It's how you rate how long a reactor will last. Right?
Yeah.
We can now apply this to David Hewlett.
That's nice.
Right?
My EFPH is low.
How many EFPH do you have left?
I've gone from like a 12-hour day to like a 2-hour day. That's like that's where I'm at right now.
You're doing we actually had this program in the Navy too called EFPH conservation, where you don't use extra power unless you need to.
That's me. That's called the sofa.
Yeah, exactly. You're doing your EFPH conservation on yourself.
What do you make of these fusion reactors? These new, because they're saying that's going to be we've basically got to harness the power of the sun.
Well, they just got to like, what was it, like was it over 100 second or over 1,000
of self-sustained, and
yeah.
It's an amazing, like it's straight out of Gimpy. Have you heard of these things where they're just basically like these giant balls of magnets or whatever it is that are just containing basically the power of the sun? Like it sounds like everything could go wrong, but it's an incredibly effective way of creating electricity, right?
Well, it's a very difficult way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because there's a lot,
Oh, did Gimpy drop out? He's dropped out. Okay.
Oh, we just lost him.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to contain something very hot in such a way that you can actually get energy out of it. If it's like a net positive energy producer, right? You have to be able to get heat out of the thing. It's so funny that at the end of the day, it's basically just a steam engine.
Yeah, they all come down to that. That's what I find so funny about them. They're all just basically instead of using like a little lump of solid fuel, you're using a little lump of radioactive fuel.
Yeah. It's
although I don't know much at all about the fusion. I don't know exactly how they work.
Well, fusion is
plasma or something, or
yeah. If you can make a plasma, and when you start to literally fuse, like fission is you breaking stuff apart, right? But if you can make an environment where you can put enough fuel, in this case where it's like hydrogen, right? And you're getting it into a condition where it can fuse, and then that ends up giving off more heat, right? But the problem is to get to that condition, to be able to even make that happen, and to do it without destroying the container.
Because the pressure's got to be insane in that situation. Isn't it? I mean, in order to have it fuse like that, would they have to be under immense pressure?
No, they run them at vacuum, I thought.
Oh.
Yeah, because you don't want other stuff in there. You just want.
Well, so how does it? But because I thought the whole point of this.
It's electromagnetically contained in a containment.
I can't get my head around it. It just seems so. Basically, the idea is you're trying to get them to join, fuse together, which I'm assuming takes a certain amount of power unto itself. But then once that happens, it gives off enough heat and energy that will.
It gives off more heat. It gets hotter. Right? Yeah. So
which allows fusion to continue.
Well, yes. That's the thing that is significant now. That it used to be that for the past several decades, most of those experiments were like, well, we're just trying to learn for the future so we can build the next one. Usually it's just to build, it's a research one to build the next one, right? Whatever we learn from this, we'll put it into the next one, right? Most of those, they might have gotten some energy out of it, but not nearly as much as they put in to even get it hot enough to start the thing in the first place.
Yeah, that makes sense, though. So they're in the research stage where they're trying to figure out how to make it happen, and then they'll figure out how to actually... Yeah. I'm assuming that it's not trivial, but it's probably not that... It's like that seems within the realm of possibility. Once you've got something that's giant hot ball of whatever, you could probably figure out how to make electricity off it or whatever.
Right. Well, now
Steam.
It's to the point where they've had several minutes straight. They're able to fire this thing up, run it for several minutes, measure how much heat they're actually making, right? But then think of it as like a nuclear reactor with only like one EFPH.
Right.
It's like,
with a Hewlett FE. Yeah.
You got to shut it down after just like an hour of use.
Yeah.
Right? And inspect all the things and see what we broke, and do we need to make this stronger or make this thing melt harder to melt, right? Like all these different, because it's insane high temperatures.
Yeah,
to make
it's the
this thing,
sun.
right?
It's literally the sun. Like that's exactly the power of the sun, is it not? I mean, that's not.
Yeah, but you're doing it in a pretty small area.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the guy trying that out. Okay, click that. Just hit go, would you? We'll be out here.
Yeah. It
It's
is really interesting though, and the idea is that if you can, the reason they're pouring so much effort into this over decades is that once you do solve the problem in a to a point where you can just have these things and use them, right? That's where you're basically just solving the planet's energy problem.
Are these Dyson spheres? Is that what they call? Is that just a planetary size? That's if you were to actually encase a sun.
Sci-fi thing.
But that would be
a sci-fi thing.
But isn't that's encasing a sun basically, and then harnessing the power? But we're just creating our own. We're just bypassing the having to build something around a sun. We're just building the sun.
You're making an electromagnetic containment. We're able to hold plasma in the center of a thing, right? And that way,
and it's hydrogen plasma. Is that what we're talking about here? Like, what is the plasma?
You need to have enough material to fuse together in a small enough space and hot enough, all at the same time.
Jesus.
Because otherwise, think about atoms, right? They're all separated by very large spaces, right? So you need electromagnetic containment.
Squishing them together.
A really cool visual of this, which is, it was completely sci-fi visual, but like it was still kind of cool. Was in what was that movie? Passengers. You ever seen
really?
Passengers?
No.
Passengers is a pretty cool sci-fi movie.
Was it? Okay, right.
Yeah. It's about people on a ship and going to another planet.
Yeah.
Thing, but only 2 people woke up out of the whole crew, and then they have to figure out like something's messed up with the reactor.
Oh, is that it? It looked like a love story. I was like, I don't know. 2 people wake up and fall in love, whatever.
There's a love story woven into it.
Stupid love.
It's good. It's good sci-fi.
All right. We just watched The Batman yesterday. Enjoyed that too, by the way.
I haven't watched it yet. I need to watch it.
It's on HBO now. But as long as you pull down the curtains and do it proper movie style, I think it's where you could do it at home. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Our living room is like the movie theater area of the house.
That's what.
We've got the wall painted like dark gray.
Oh, really? Oh, nice. No.
And it's like dark gray couch and turn off nighttime.
Yeah, we have the Alexa, turn off all the annoying lights, and then it just all the. Shut up! No, go away. Buzz off. Cure me. No, that's neat. There's that. So and the other one that I was hearing about is the salt, liquid salt, thorium. The thorium reactors.
So that's where you're just, that's the one where there's a bunch of field full of mirrors and you're throwing a bunch of light at a box and you're just making the salt really hot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, there's 2 ways to do it. There's the one where you see the big field of stuff with a big tower in the middle. Right? That's one. And then there's a newer concept that has these.
It's basically liquid salt that's somehow that is being used to instead of water to cool the. Is that right? To cool the reactor, or how does?
Oh, are we talking about that? Hold on, you're talking the other one. I'm talking the solar one. There's a solar version where you use salt as well.
No, I didn't know that. No, I've not heard of that.
Yeah. When you see those big circular field full of mirrors and they're all pointing at a tower in the middle,
they're melting salt.
They're usually melting salt. It gets super, super hot, and then that salt is then pumped out to a different heat exchanger, and then that makes steam, and again, it just does a steam.
Why do they use salt? Because why is that better than?
Because it's really good at storing heat at really high temperatures.
Better than water.
Better than water at those temperatures, yes, better than water.
Right.
So there's a different reactor type where it's molten, maybe a different one that I'm thinking about than the one you were thinking about. But there's one where
there's a thorium one that has the salt. I guess the salt is being used the same way.
It's a slurry where the fuel is actually in the liquid, right?
And they're these tiny little. Apparently, they're very small reactors, thorium reactors, and they use some kind of a liquid salt, and they're saying why don't we have one of those on every couple of blocks and that'll power everybody type thing. What does it do? Salt has a higher melting temp, so it holds more heat. Okay, thank you, Tamarian.
Okay, what is this?
Better transfer.
Fluoride thorium reactor. That one?
I think I'm thinking of a battery, apparently. It's a thorium reactor. It is a reactor for sure.
Did you guys talk about the popular mechanics, back in the 50s, they thought each house would have its own reactor.
Well, so that's basically maybe that's just what everyone does when they think of these things. But these new thorium reactors, apparently that's the idea, is you'd have like local, like little regional, not regional, like literally like neighborhood reactors that could just basically power up a section of the city at a time.
Okay, so yeah, I'm looking.
I'm so sorry. I'm sort of ignoring the chat today. Not ignoring the chat, but I'm struggling with the chat because I want to talk to Alan, and I honestly don't think I've got the brain cells right now. What is it? My EHFM is serious. My EFTH. See, I can't even get that right. Miss Liz is here though, and that's lovely, and she subscribed too. Miss Liz.
All right. So what else? What else do we want to talk about? We don't got to burn out your brain cells with.
We got thorium. So we've talked about. So we touched on thorium reactors. We've touched on storage for film and television, which I kind of like.
I don't think we ever really closed the loop on it.
No, I don't think we did either. No, I mean.
So like, are there people still that you think aren't doing good stuff to like save their butt?
Absolutely, absolutely. So here's what I get from.
How do you help them?
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, could you not have like a huge? Well, I would say there's a few things that happen. One is obviously as soon as you start making a movie, you need to be doing backups. We had a situation on one of Jane's films where one of the camera folks decided to she forgot the backing up part, and we just overwrote an entire day's worth of work.
Oh,
that's not even the backing up. That's the unloading your media.
Yeah, literally. Like thought it had been unloaded, it had not been unloaded, and it was lost. So luckily, it was all footage with me, so it was easy. We could just come back and shot it again another time. But
wait a minute, genius idea.
Mm-hmm.
Is it ableism if you require somebody to have OCD to do a job? Like you kind of the camera department generally does have OCD, but then there's you get a couple of beers into the mix, and they all start sitting around, smoking joints and talking about their day, and then you'll find that things go astray a little, I think. But there is a lot of OCD in the camera department, I would say. There are a lot of nerds like us who are very specific about their tech, but and it is a system that. I would not mention names because basically she would never ever work again, because you can't, like, that kind of a mistake is absolutely unforgivable. But that's what happens. Young people, sometimes they just make mistakes.
I mean, I will say this, like it's just the human factor of it.
Absolutely, yeah. As soon as you deal with, I mean, what they should really have, and I'm sure they will already have, is systems where you record to the camera and the camera automatically does a backup. I mean, I'm amazed that isn't in play already. There's also unions involved, right?
That used to be a thing. I don't know why they haven't made more of them. There was an SD card called an iFi.
Oh yeah.
EYEFI.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, and it had 8 gig or something ridiculous small storage on it, but whatever pictures you took, it connected to your Wi-Fi and it would send them.
See, that makes absolute sense to me. But there's a couple of things that are interesting, and I think this is one of the issues that we have with the film industry, is that the industry was designed to be like a factory, so that any moving parts could be removed and replaced with someone else, and the system would continue. As a result, when it was unionized, all of those different positions are unionized. I would be surprised if it doesn't come into play that when you automate this stuff, that there are people who are supposed to be doing that. I think you'll find that there's a lot of baggage associated with this stuff that the technology is already solved, that it just isn't being solved because of the inbuilt systems.
Because there's a 80-year-old position, some sort of a media grip guy or whatever, right? Yeah. Like he's the guy that we got a guy that does that, manually, spins manually, turns the disc for the
clapper
drive.
Loader and the we still check the gate, as they would say back in the day. We used to check the gate to see if there's any, because literally there would be a hair in the gate, you'd have to go again, right?
But what's interesting is that so back then you were shooting on film, you did literally just have the one copy, but now it's so trivial to make the extra copy.
Except time. Right? It's time and cost, because it's a cost that most people don't think of. is like when you start recording, people think they grab their camera, they record stuff, and they'll just dump it onto their laptop. It's like, guys, we're dealing with 8K footage or whatever now, which I think is ridiculous. Anyways, I don't think you need that much. But
why?
Honestly, I think it's just future proofing.
240 like
I should only be 640
So there's 640 would be 640 be fine for everyone.
In an animated GIF. That's the only way I would.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So what? Some of the YouTubers use this probably more so than the film people. I mean, I imagine film people use it as well. But if you need to crop in on something on a scene,
you just zoom in. Yeah.
Well, but you don't want to have shot at the native resolution in that case. You want more, right? So that when you do that, crop in, come in tighter on something in post, you will need the extra information there. Otherwise, you lose detail and everything gets all.
Yeah, you used to be able to get away with 10%. Used to get away with about 10% for that, and then on just regular film and stuff. But now there's a lot more. You know what's weird though that happens is that you go like, oh, I got to just record a giant wide with everyone in it, and then I'll just pop in for close-ups because I've got so much leeway on the thing. But you know what happens is it's the parallax. It just doesn't look right. You don't get the same.
Oh yeah.
It's just not the same. It's bizarre.
Not only that, but there's lens distortions at the edges.
Yeah, all of which will be fixed by AI, I'm sure, at some point. But by the way,
it's actually not parallax. It's when
you
take a wide shot, like when you take a really like ultra wide picture, like with an iPhone with a really wide angle lens or whatever, the stuff at the end has a different distortion.
It's distorted. Yeah.
Things are wider than they should be.
But it's I don't know what it is, but it's maybe it's not parallax, but it's when you zoom in on when you zoom in on a section, there's just something about the composition, or I don't know, something throws you off.
Distorted. It's a distortion.
Yeah.
Right?
That's kind of thing.
Well, I don't know if it's distortion though, because the lens is the same. Like the lens is like. Well, no, you're right. There's going to be different. Of course, there's going to be a different optical sense to it than. Like if you take a shot from the center of it, it's going to look different than something that's on the edge. Yeah.
It's because the camera is a flat plane in space.
Yeah.
Is what it's shooting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you do the edge of that plane,
you're going to get
something out over here. You're now on this angle. Effectively, right? So then things are going to be stretched slightly in a weird way. There's ways to correct for it too, but it starts getting hairy.
Anamorphic lenses and stuff.
Oh, everyone loves their anamorphic lenses. Have you watched? Have you watched any of Severance yet?
I haven't.
You would I think you'd both love it.
Actually, my wife just last night brought that up.
I highly recommend it. I have not watched all of it. In fact, it is a show that I refuse to binge watch. Like Jane says, "Do you want to watch another episode?" I'm like, "Nope. I want to just let it percolate."
You gotta space it out.
There's so much stuff going on, and it's so neat, and it's so wonderfully
Speaking of old shows,
exciting.
Hold on. I've been waiting for this.
Uh-oh.
We gotta geek out Stargate for a minute.
Are we gonna talk ZPMs? Because along the power thing?
Oh, no. This is not even. This is just an old episode thing that cracked me the hell up.
Oh, what have I got wrong? Yep.
No, it's not you. It's not you. Actually, I watched a couple of just happened to come across what I was watching the Atlantis episode out of the blue. I'm not like rewatching all the way through all the Stargates or any of that.
No, that would be very nerdy.
Well, I happened to watch an Atlantis episode. It was actually one of the ones where like you and what's his face guy who your sneakers just auctioned off were like
Paulie. Yeah.
You and Paul were on a ship. And the Wraith were trying to kick your ass or
whatever,
right. Sorry.
So basically every episode, yeah.
But it was a pretty good episode. Like you were in it a lot, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Of course, it's a great episode then.
They put Rodney in it, like front and center, like for most of the episode. That's cool.
Right.
But the other one I watched was like they recently came out with all the SG1s on Blu-ray.
Oh yes, yeah.
Not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I wonder if they up-res them. They must have up-res them or something.
Yeah, they didn't rescan from film or anything. They just did some other kind of. It still looks good. Like that's
because people were saying that some of the stuff that they've been seeing, they were seeing booms and stuff in shot because they hadn't done a proper.
That's because it's widescreen.
Yeah, and they hadn't.
And when the show originally aired, it was 4:3, right? Yep. But it was shot to be able to be wide, but and since most people didn't see it, the wide shot, like there was a shot that I think has been circulating around where it's like Amanda was like hiding in the corner.
Oh really?
Shot.
Yeah.
She was ducked down because she was on set, but it was like one of those where they're in the passageway of the ship things. And
Well,
so,
that's the other thing is
literally
also
hiding because you
HD.
had to
That's
hide
right.
somewhere.
And that's it
Yeah.
and they'll crop it, right? So when they'll put out the image with all the crap around the outside, but you're only supposed to see that when it's presented.
Yeah.
So
and there was one where they
unless
do the
you're
shot and,
yeah.
yeah, they do the shot and it's like, O'Neill and Teal'c walking down the thing and like there's Carter just like scrouch.
Yeah, there's
duck
Amanda
duck down in the corner.
My favorite one is in I think it's either the Storm or the Eye in Atlantis. And there's a scene where we're like, shouting and screaming and there's a storm going on. And if you look in the background, there is a guy shaking a tree, just literally shaking the tree. And that's my favorite. That is my favorite blooper, I think, of all of them, because it's just, it's too funny. Yeah.
So here's the geek out thing I want to do. So,
that wasn't it?
So I'm like, no, it's not. So like there was this SG-1, came out on Blu-ray and all, upsampled. And I was like, okay, let me see, what the quality. Let me see how good this looks, right? And I'm looking at the first episode because why not? It's SG-1. Might as well just see where it all started, right?
Right.
Didn't even get to the intro, like the first commercial break. And there was like the worst possible, just breaking the Stargate universe problem.
Really?
Because it's like. They start it, and like the whole thing is on mothballs, right? And there's just the army guys are just in there playing cards in the gate room,
right?
And all of there's
God, it's been a long time since I've seen that.
Yeah. It's like the beginning of all of it, right? And all of a sudden the gate fires up, right? And so like Ra comes in and Teal'c comes in, before Teal'c was like a good guy, and all the guys come in, and the gate shuts down, and then by the time the frickin' general runs in with backup and everything. They leave. They left.
Wait, what?
What?
They
what do you mean?
Out the gate.
They left out the gate?
They left out the gate.
Oh my God! Like you cut back and there's no gate there?
No. The gate was there. They exited out of the gate without a DHD.
Oh, I see.
It was like within the first 5 minutes of the first episode.
Well, they were trying to figure stuff out.
Thing that you can't do with the
one of the things I love about the Stargate fans is they'll always come up with a reason why that totally works.
Well,
there's always someone who'll go like, "Well, that was because,
Yeah, and then they had like I guess a few seasons in they re-released because that was a two-parter and they re-released that as like a straight to DVD whatever, right? And they like
wringing a last few dollars out of that. Yeah.
Well, they retconned it. They actually had the Raw actor. I forgot his name. Like they came in, did a reshoot where he instead of says what he said to his cronies, he actually says some words to the effect of "redial the gate."
Right.
But in.
Oh, they added. So they actually tried to fix it with a.
They reshot a shot to try to fix it so it made sense. Yes.
Well, they probably didn't even reshoot it. They probably just took a shot that they already had and tried to shove some voice over it.
It was different. They put the helmet back on him. They put him in makeup because you could tell he had gained a little bit of weight because it was like 2 years later or whatever. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It wasn't the same Raw.
That was like me between seasons. Like I think the season where I get trapped underground and then I come back out, I'm like 20 pounds heavier because I've just had like the best time of my life for the last like 6 months off. Just Jane and I traveling around, eating food.
On the show, you were supposed to be like starving to death.
I'm supposed to be stuck underneath. Like, the joke was that I'd been trapped in a room full of sandwiches.
Delicious rats.
Delicious rat sandwiches. That's it.
Yeah, so I just thought it was funny as heck that like the original episode had this thing that like sort of broke the continuity of like how all this false.
Well, and none of these things were ever designed to be seen more than once, ever.
I know.
They were designed to show on Friday night or whatever it was, Thursday night, and then that was it. If you missed it, you missed it. And then all of a sudden, there's like, oh, okay, now it's available on VHS, or now you can watch it on reruns, or
and SG-1 was right around that time where that was kind of turning into a thing.
Well, and I was convinced that part of the success of Stargate is because the timing of it was just as the early adopters were hitting the internet as well, right? So there was a fan base that now had access to a global internet. I mean, it was perfect time.
Hold on. You mean access to where you can order some
DVDs
DVDs
dial up,
from Netflix? because that's what I did back then.
Well, no, it would have been when it first came out. It wouldn't have been. Netflix wasn't around then. I mean, when it came
Not
around.
when it first came out, but like the few years after is when you had Netflix start.
Yeah, when they were,
DVD by mail thing, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I for like a couple of years I had like the 8 DVDs out at once. Netflix
Yeah, me
plan.
too. I had the 9.
Like,
I had nine DVDs.
yeah.
We used to plow
Yeah.
through stuff because we were in
I was
Point
just
Roberts,
cranking
right?
through 'em.
That's when I bought stocks. I bought stocks in Netflix then because I was like, this is the brilliant idea. And I didn't like it when they went all digital because all of a sudden I was back in Blockbuster looking at a wall of stuff I don't want to see.
They did it earlier than they should have, but obviously it paid off.
Oh no, it absolutely makes sense. That was always their goal. But for me, it was the reason why I loved it originally was because you used to go into like Blockbuster. Oh my God, now we're so old. You used to go to Blockbuster to go and get a movie, and you'd end up coming back with some crap that you didn't want to watch because they never had the movie you wanted. They never had. So you'd end up looking around, and then you just see one that has a big shiny cover, and you go like, "Oh my God, great, I'll get that." But what I loved about Netflix was that it had you basically had to put together a list of all the films that you've always wanted to watch, right?
Yeah.
So you knew every time you got a movie that it was a film that was either good or was one that you knew you wanted to see. And that changed the way I watched films and enjoyed films. Now I find myself scrolling around and then all of a sudden I'm watching, Halloween Kills and I'm like, what the hell? Why am I watching this crap? I mean, so what have you got? What have you found?
I love it.
Well,
Go ahead.
Oh, movie CD.
Movie CDs.
Magazine.
That was like before DVDs even. No, it's not a magazine. It's
not.
This is anime. This is Dominion Tank Police.
What?
Video.
Literally as a CD?
But it's on CD.
You could play it on your
Oh,
PC.
Yeah, I had those.
Did you really?
I had a 3DO. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, the 3DO. Yeah, I remember the 3DO. Yeah.
Yeah, I could watch.
I had the Dreamcast. I used to love the Dreamcast.
Oh, yeah, I had that, but that was way later. Dude.
The Dreamcast, was it later than that?
94.
Was it?
93. Yeah.
See, my chronology's all off. I can't even figure out last week. That's the weird thing with this COVID thing is I'm literally missing chunks. Like I just don't. There's things that Jane says like, remember, we just did that. I'm like, what? I like literally have no idea from last week.
That may not be. That may not be COVID's fault.
It's the brain fake. Did you have that as well?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Did you? But I'm curious. I'm curious if
I'm looking into some of those meds that you can that got different supplement kind of stuff. Like I'm strongly considering trying some of those.
Yeah, there's stuff that they've looked into it, right? Because they're saying that, and there's also things like you're supposed to learning other languages and apparently learning lines is very good for maintaining your memory and stuff. But Pup, were you saying that did you have brain issues when you were sick as well?
Yeah, I couldn't remember what I did like 5 minutes ago.
Okay, so it's not. So there you go. So it's not just an age thing; it's a nerd thing.
How were your guys' lungs? Was there lung problems or? Not?
Mine are still bad. I'm still having to take big breaths every so often because I'm just not getting full. It's really odd.
Did you get the 4th shot or no?
I've got 3 shots, and then I asked for the antiviral, but apparently, because our healthcare system is all covered by the government, so we don't have to worry about anything. They don't actually cover us because it's apparently I'm not high enough risk. Apparently asthma and the fact that I was having asthma attacks and couldn't breathe was not big enough an issue that they wanted me to have an antiviral. So.
Well, do they do the thing where they slowly open it up to more and more groups?
Well, no, the vaccines they did. The vaccines they did, but the antivirals they've got their little check boxes, and it's like the government in Canada basically runs the healthcare system, so it's kind of like an HMO. It's again, if you are in an emergency situation, it's fantastic, but as a result, everything is getting pushed into the emergency zone, right?
Yeah.
The preventative stuff just isn't happening, and research is not happening as well, which is also frustrating.
What was that stuff called? It's not
ivermectin.
What's that?
It was an antiviral. It was an antiviral. I don't know what it's called. Isn't it called like Kovacs or something like that?
Monoclonal antibodies?
No, not that. That's different.
No?
That's different, Dempy.
That's the horse tranquilizer? Or the horse worm dewormer?
No. The monoclonal thing is actually like better than the horse thing, but there's an actual like antiviral.
What isn't better than the horse thing at this point?
Well,
that's the dewormers. I remember Daria, this fabulous woman who was running a biolab in Ukraine, and
I love her.
yeah, she's amazing.
Still?
She's not anymore, no, because she quite wisely realized that if the Russians came in and found her in a biolab, that she was not going to
Oh.
be around for very long. This is
Yeah,
a bio.
that too.
So because she said even though they weren't doing anything wrong, the Russians would of course immediately use them as an. Anyways, she left. Did not want to leave, but her family left and basically took her with them. She's in. The last time I heard about her, she was in. I think she was in. I'm not sure if it was Berlin or no. Is it Belgium or I don't remember if it was Belgium or Berlin, one of the two. She did a fantastic video, which I'm going to find for you because you should watch it. It's just her and her friends just chatting about it, and it's if you want to see the banality of evil and what this asshole has done. I mean, I'll talk about Putin, of course. You know, and the fact that we just I wish we could do more. It drives me nuts. Yeah. Anyways, what's it called? They're called which is a fantastic name for the lab, Yanni Lab. I think it's Yanni Lab. Let me see if I can find this. But Daria runs it, and
one of
she's.
your tweets. You tweeted it.
Oh, did I? Oh, good. Okay. Well, there you go. I know. I thought I. What's Yan Lab? Nope. I want Yanni Lab. Come on. I'll find it later. You yeah.
Did you anybody else notice that David was completely unwell until birthday cake arrived? Just think about it.
Because birthday cake is life. And I'm still complaining about my. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm still complaining about my health too. Copy link address. Here we go. If I put it into the chat, this is Daria and her.
I'm very happy that you did not say your arm.
Oh, my arms are still hurting though too.
Oh yeah, his shoulders are shot.
My shoulder. You know what? I'll tell you the weird thing about my shoulders. Thank you for asking, Five Pup. Is that when you get COVID and you're really sick and you're really tired, I keep falling asleep. But the problem is I keep falling asleep on my shoulders. So my shoulders are terrible because I keep falling asleep on them. So anyways, isn't this exciting?
Great.
Gimpy G, you don't have any health issues, right?
No,
None.
Gimpy G likes to come here just to hear how the other side lives. You know, people who are not as fortunate as Gimpy G. You know, with his house and movement things.
I call you guys the week, but I don't say it to you.
The week. Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. That's got a nice ring to it.
Wings.
What else have you got going on up there, Alan? What's the any other exciting things? Are you still Intel?
I'm down there from you.
Oh, you're down there. Well, you're up there in my screen.
Yeah. I'm looking
Yeah,
down.
looking down. I know. You're always looking down. I get it. Yeah.
What is the military opinion on like doing more with Ukraine? I mean, since Putin has a nuke, is that just off base now? He can go anywhere he wants.
Yeah. I mean, what does that mean exactly?
Okay, so here's kind of the high level of how that stuff works. Like nuclear power countries, not power plants, but countries that have nukes,
Weapons.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
Since that has been a thing, generally speaking, no nuclear power has like done any messing around with any other directly with any other nuclear power.
But it's so ridiculous because it's not obvious that everyone's messing around with everyone else anyways. Like they're still doing it. They're just not doing it officially.
Right. Well, and it's also kind of like the whole the guns don't kill people, people kill people thing. So like that's kind of the excuse that can be used for like, well, the U.S. can give a country a bunch of stuff, right?
But they're not in there fighting.
Yeah, they're not the ones actually pulling the trigger, so to speak, right? It's the other country, whatever.
Just
they're doing,
teaching them how to.
them.
Yeah.
All that other stuff can happen. That's kind of considered fair play in that thing. But like, so that's the reason why basically, because the U.S. is a nuclear power, you're not going to see us do something directly that would then escalate to the point where, because think about it. You do something, and then they do something back. And then where does that...
Right.
Well, except that...
end up stopping,
but the only argument I would have about that, though, is that it's like... It's not just a tit for tat, though. Like, he's gone in and... we did nothing when he took Crimea. Like, I mean... And now he's literally just bombing a civilization out of existence, basically. I mean... Right.
Well, and the other thing that's weird about that is, wasn't it the Crimea thing that resulted in the deal where that Russia was like, okay... Or what was it? It was one of the things... No, well, it wasn't Crimea. It was before that. So when Ukraine basically became, like, their own thing...
On the condition that they didn't become part of... NATO?
Well, no, because
Yeah.
no, Ukraine when it was part of Russia had nukes because
There's a
Russia had
Balkan
nukes,
agreement.
right?
Oh.
Yeah. So there was at one point where Ukraine was like, okay, we're our own thing now, and part of that agreement, which was agreed to by Russia, was okay. Well, but all the nukes come back to us.
Right.
Come back to Mother Russia, right? So
Right.
Ukraine basically denuclear whatever
Denuked.
themselves, denuked themselves, gave all their nukes back to Russia. So Ukraine was not a nuclear power.
And now
right?
Russia's using it as a threat to take over.
No. But the agreement, part of that agreement was that Russia would then not try to take over Ukraine. So it was
That's what I
literally an
mean. So
agreement
what's the
Russia
point
made.
of having
Yeah.
these agreements if they're not going to?
Oh, I know, and that's what I think is so silly about it now. Is like it's not like there was not some agreement in place. Like there literally was an agreement, and they're going against it, right? If maybe there was just no agreement and there was some bad blood there, and Ukraine just became their own thing, and Russia just at any point in the future could just like decide to say no, let's just go and take our stuff back or whatever. But that's not actually the case. If you go back and look at the agreement that was made, Russia was like, "Yep, you're your own thing, okay," and.
I like the Scandinavians who just say like, yeah, whatever, your nukes. Anyways, NATO, like they're so funny. They're just so like, whatever, like, yeah. I mean, oh, you're going to move weapons where you already have weapons anyways. Like, it's like this kind of, I mean, again, not to be flippant about it, but I feel like at what point do you go like, how long do you hold that nuclear card before they?
Well,
Right.
but that's the thing. Like Putin's the one that's waving the nuclear card all over the place.
All the time, all the time, at everything. Like,
Well, not only that, but I mean, he put like his right off the bat. He put all of his nuclear,
right away, he said that. Yeah.
On like high alert.
Hey, there's no milk in this coffee. That's it. I'm nuking. Yeah.
So here's what's weird about that. Like I was on a sub. We're technically had periods where we were on alert.
Huh.
Like on needed to be able to launch missiles quicker than normal.
Really? So you
Right.
get you get a directive saying.
Well, there's the general like, okay, you're the only submarine that happens to be the one that we're gonna call right now,
Right.
because all the other ones, in this Atlantic or Pacific Ocean, like there's always at least one on either ocean,
Right.
That's ready, that can do it. But there's points where it's even more heightened situation where it's like, oh, the U.S. is actually like they call it high alert. So alert is just okay. You're the person doing that. You're the one that fires nukes if we have to, right? But then there's like high alert, which is like, okay, now we need to be like really ready.
Maybe get the manuals out.
Like have the manuals out. Like don't do any drills. Like don't. Do anything
don't.
Where you're,
We've shut everything down just to test to see what happens. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Like
okay.
don't run fire drills right now because don't do anything, but be ready to shoot like even faster. Like don't put yourself in a compromising position, right? And so like Putin right off the bat supposedly did this high alert thing, which is like, and
where do you go from there?
Like, well, no, it's like how long has it been? Like, did he ever tell him not to do that anymore? So it's like you get to the point where if the submarine was on high alert for like 3 months, like we would all
Kind
be
of defeats the purpose of high alert, doesn't it?
Yeah, because you're doing it for so long, you're eventually to the point where it's like, well, we got other crap to do.
Well, but their whole military operation just seems very, very odd. Like I feel like it seems like there's all of these glaring holes in the way that they've run their military business. Like this, it's like this being the one that I absolutely loved was that apparently he thought he was going to march in there with no problems because he'd spent billions of dollars apparently buying off people in Ukraine, only to discover that his people had just taken the money, had just stolen the money. They hadn't actually done any of the work.
I just keep seeing an awful lot of fraud going on over there.
Yeah.
Like it's just,
I mean, not that there isn't everywhere else as well, but just in this case, it's like they've been called out. They're like, whoa, what do you mean we're going to war? Oh, crap. We exchanged all that oil for Vaseline, and now none of the tanks work. And yeah,
and you got huge lines, huge caravans of stuff that like can't even make it, 50 miles down the road.
Although they said that from the beginning, didn't they? Didn't they say that they only had a very specific window when they could fight before they just get stuck in the mud, basically?
I don't think it was because they would get stuck in the mud. I think they intended for it to be just such a fast thing. They thought they were just going to roll into town and everybody was going to throw up a white flag, and then that was it, right? So they didn't, I don't think they expected it to be some long drawn out.
Why does no one do their history homework? Like literally just go to history and we could stop so many. Go watch one single documentary on Ukraine and their battle with authoritarian or fascist dictators. I mean, they are not a people who just sort of wave flags and give up. I mean, there's an amazing documentary called like Fire in the Winter or something like that. It was about the original, well, not the original, one of the many Russian attempts to basically co-opt their government with a puppet. And I mean, they fought each other. They fought authority. They were willing to die. Many people were willing to die for that country. To think that you could just wander in there without any repercussions is extraordinarily bad intel.
Another big part of that, it is so funny. Like you get to see a unique, like today, a war happening today. You see a unique perspective, like the Ukrainian, random Ukrainian girl that like does a TikTok video on how to drive an abandoned
the truck
tank.
Oh my God,
right?
yeah, the tanks,
yeah.
they're amazing, right? Yeah.
And like, but if you actually like me being prior military, when I look at those kinds of things, yes, there's the comic factor and like, oh my God, that's so funny. But there's also like, look at the actual vehicle. Like I've seen what our vehicles have gotten.
It's like a freaking Lada
over the years, whereas these things look like, I mean, heck, they're on par with like a 70s Volkswagen.
No, they literally look like Ladas. They have this like, I mean, it's...
Yeah, they're just like, I mean, I understand that military is supposed to keep something super simple and whatnot, and but like, where's the technology? Like their technology is super...
Their drones, though, they had some good drones. I did notice that although they were being shot down as well.
You mean the drones that like the Ukrainians found that had like literal Canon cameras?
No, seriously?
Inside the
Oh
like
my
literally
God.
A Canon SLR.
Oh, we've got you the best lenses that. Yes.
With the mode dial hot glued so it wouldn't move on its own in flight. It was literally
seriously
like, that's a thing. Like, yes, that was actually a thing.
So do you think maybe there's just a huge amount of misappropriation of funds and stuff happening?
I think there's a bunch of that, and probably combined with a bunch of everybody just sort of pretending that things. Oh yes, our technology is superior.
Superior to everybody in that
course,
cave.
We are making very good advancements. Like that sort of pride, I think, has just pride combined with corruption from the looks of it, right? That's just sort of been happening. Like their own. I mean, Russia, like, there was something I listened to the other day. I think it was a podcast or a YouTube video on it. Like, somebody covered, like, what was the past 10 or 20 year history of Russia trying to make microchips, right? Like, you have microchips now. Like, we're getting down to like the 3 nanometer, like, super small feature size, super small transistors. Right? We keep shrinking smaller and smaller, so you can make more powerful. On one chip, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, like Russia kept trying to do that, and it kept getting delayed, and like I forget what nanometer they're on, but it's like it's like in the 30s or something. It's
really?
Like they're so far behind us, not just us, like the rest of the U.S., the rest of the world, right? The rest of everybody else outside of Russia. So Russia themselves, yes, they'll use their chip production capability to make, other things that don't need to be super small transistors. Like
or they just buy them from China.
No.
I mean, that's the next thing, right? I mean,
yes, but they're having to get it from somewhere else. They're not doing that stuff their own. And if you think about like, how does that translate to all of the other technology kind of stuff that permeates everywhere else within
this
Russia?
is it. I mean,
like that stuff kind of trickles down. If they can't make newer than 20 or 10 or 20 year ago chip technology, what happens to everything else that they're able to do internally, right?
And I guess the problem is, out of frustration, does he then launch a nuke? I mean, that's the.
But do they work, dude? That's my deal. You have to service the nuke, right?
You have to, yes, but there's a but. Okay, so like the ballistic missiles technology on like the submarine that I was on, that stuff was easily 20 years old.
Right.
Sure.
Still works just fine.
Right.
But weren't they serviced periodically? I mean,
yes.
You have to have all those
there's
charges
maintenance.
Mm.
There's
used
maintenance.
exactly
Yes.
properly.
And
then
materials
ball
and
bearings, right?
Yes, there are things that need to be, maintained to some degree, and yes, you're right, Gimpy. Some of that, some of the other issues they've had could also extend to the nukes, right?
Mm.
But the nuclear defense thing is very tricky.
Mm.
Yeah, I wouldn't stand there flipping off the bomber, but yeah,
Right.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah, I mean, the way that these things work, and there's videos you can watch on this too, but it's basically, in essence, you're, at like the last stage of flight of like what is a nuclear weapon, the thing is basically just in free fall.
Right.
It's like it's an inert object that's going multiple Mach in free fall. And the only way you're gonna, it's even to the point where it's like it's hard to even like counter it with, it's moving so fast, it's like not even hard to track, but like hard to even get something ahead of it.
But they're taking out missiles even just with their own little sort of not Iron Dome type thing, whatever it's called, like the Israeli system.
Oh,
but
the phalanx thing.
They're taking out missiles all the time now, aren't they? I mean, isn't that, or is that?
But those are regular missiles.
So those are just easier to hit.
Yeah, like the way a nuke works is vastly different from any other regular missile that you.
But aren't they bigger? I would have thought they'd be, but they're bigger and thus faster. Is that
nukes, when they launch, it's a large missile, but then as the stages break off, you eventually get to the point where there's multiple warheads in the nose of the thing.
Okay. All right.
And those things, everything is to just add more and more energy to it, go faster and faster and faster, right? And it kind of, touches low orbit. It's not just like a, the reason they call them ballistic, right? It's ICBM, right? The first few parts of it are not ballistic, but when it finally gets to the point, it's like, this is the warhead, go. Right. When you're actually at the very last bit of it, that thing is just an object. It's not guided. It's no longer, none of that stuff.
Well, because it doesn't have to be, does it? You just need to be roughly in the area to get.
Well, no. I mean, you're literally on like an arc of like orbit, suborbit, and then you're coming down. Right?
I mean, once it's coming down at somebody, I mean, the damage.
And there's all sorts of tricks that they do. They'll have like some things that look like warheads, but they're not warheads. They'll really have like chaff warheads in there to fool the defense systems, because if if there's only one, you can try to attack that one, right? But if there's 20, which one's the real one?
We're so good at killing each other, aren't we? It's one of the things we're so good at.
Yeah, it's not great.
I just wonder if we'll get to a point in the world where there are truly tactical nuclear attacks. Like, will there be? There was an extraordinary.
I hope not.
I read this book called Sandworm, which was all about the. If you haven't read that, you probably enjoyed that. It was about a bunch of hacks and cyber attacks and systems that were used for that. And they were talking to a Russian about some cyber attacks and about coming to America. And he said, "Look, why don't I just let me plant a few little mini nukes around places in Russia, and we'll get rid of your problem." And America's like, "What? No. And he's like, "Whoa, what's the problem? Like, and the terrifying thing about that they were saying in the book was like, that's the mentality. Like that the mentality is like, so what? 1,000 people die. It's you've achieved your goal. I mean, no regard for the fact that there is fallout, that there's other, that again, look at history. Russia.
Those are small nukes they're talking about.
Yeah, they're talking about little ones. But again, it's like there's that saying, when you are among wolves, you have to act like a wolf. And what they're saying is that if you look at the history of Russia, they have no fear in killing a lot of people, whether it's their own people or other people. Like it's their history is. They've thrown men at problems. That's why, frankly, it was a big reason why we won the Second World War, was because Russia was willing to throw so many freaking people at the Nazis. I mean, like it's extraordinary. Their history is so incredibly violent. but not to say all Russians are violent or anything, but just that their military history, this is not unknown to Russia, sending a lot of people in and having a lot of people die. I mean, to get what they want.
You just have to remember that the scale that we're talking about, as far as what the end game is,
I know,
for like two nuclear powers going against each other, right? I mean, it literally, I mean, the whole concept, the whole reason of like the subs I was serving on, the reason for their existence was to not have to use the nukes.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, you just have this thing that if anybody else does something stupid, they will basically cease to exist about 30 minutes later.
So what? Okay, but then that's okay. So that's my question, though. I go, okay. So how does that work then? So let's say, horrible situation. Let's say Putin decides, you know what, this isn't working well. I'm gonna take out Ukraine.
Oh, okay. That's
so
different.
Then what happens? I don't see us jumping on a button. I mean, do you?
No. We don't use our button if his nukes are not coming for us.
Right. So, and again, if his nukes are coming for us, wouldn't it make more sense to spend money on just stopping the nukes from getting to us than actually firing our own nukes? Or is it just mutual destruction is still...
There's actually a lot of risk associated with your scenario right there, and it actually plays into something that Gimpy was just saying. And that is, if there is an issue with Russia's nukes, right? Everybody on the planet is going to know if he launches a nuke at Ukraine.
Oh yeah.
There are many orbiting things to track missiles.
Right. Wow.
To track those kinds of missiles, right? We will know. We'll actually know within a minute or two.
Oh my God, OSINT will know. The open source intelligence community that's online all the time, tracking every plane, they would know. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Well, if they didn't know right away, they'd figure it out pretty soon. Somebody would tell them, right? But the thing is, what if that's how he finds out that his nukes aren't working that great, right? What if he launches the nuke and the missile fails to even connect? Right? What happens then to his, reputation on the world stage, right? So that's probably a thing he has to consider, whether, before he goes hitting that button. But then there's also, again, we have a pretty, we will know within minutes not only that there is a missile, and yes, it would technically be heading in our direction, but we would know that no, it's not us.
Well, look at North Korea, right? They did the same thing. They're like, oh, look, they're busy in Ukraine. Let me just let us do a little test. Let me do a rocket test, as they did.
Yeah. Ukraine or Korea keeps doing stupid.
Man, they are just
stupid things over there too.
Just extraordinary. I mean,
yeah. But so they nuke Ukraine. Okay. First of all, we don't launch nukes because of that.
Well, that's what I mean. So his threat to use that, but that's what I mean. Like what? Just because
his threats have all been aimed at us, though.
Is it?
Yeah, all of his.
I thought it was just a threat to use them. I didn't think it was a threat specifically to the U.S.
They've all been because the U.S. is helping, it's going to cause escalation.
Well, and that's his message, right? His message is that this is a war against the West, not just Ukraine. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he's trying to lump it all in together because he knows that he's gonna ruffle the U.S. people. He's trying to get the U.S. to stop supporting Ukraine. Right. Basically. Right. Thank goodness it's not working.
Well, except that give it enough time, and America gets bored, right? I mean, North America gets bored. We get, remember when this first started happening, and it's like everyone's on Twitter every 2 seconds looking up things around the news and all that kind of stuff, and it just after a while, it just becomes this fatigue sets in.
You get numb to it, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Afghanistan, holy fuck! I know, went on forever. We're, yeah. Oh, I really thought we were beyond this. I thought we were at this point. I thought we just have robots fighting each other or something. You know what I mean?
In space.
Even better. Even better. Yeah, I actually didn't get a chance to read that article, but I did want to read that because I just thought it's something I've been saying for a while. I was like, get millionaires out of space and start getting more robots in there because it just doesn't. The amount of resources and energy used to get people places that they shouldn't be. Who gives a crap? Give me a pair of goggles and I'll just I'll have a look at Mars from a rover.
What I find fascinating about that, speaking of rovers specifically, is first of all, I got to go and visit. I went to New York a little bit ago.
Oh yeah.
And we went to the Intrepid, which is a museum.
Oh yeah.
Right, it's an old carrier, but it's a museum, right? They have an SR-71 parked on the flight deck, and the mock-up full scale test space shuttle.
Oh wow. Wow.
They have in a hangar they built a hangar on top of the flight deck with a space shuttle in it.
Oh wow.
Right? But in there is a rover of the full size mock-up of the rover.
Of which one? Curiosity or Perseverance? Probably Curiosity.
The newer one.
Oh, Perseverance then. Okay.
Yeah, Perseverance, because the RTG is like huge on the back.
Yeah.
We
saw it being built. We went to what's it called? For God's sake.
Where
America?
America. That's right, Gimpy G. We went to America. Oh my God! Jet Propulsion Lab.
They welcome you in.
Jet Propulsion Lab. Yeah.
They point you over to the back corner. Look, we're making
Hi,
a rover.
it's America. Where's the rover? Dear America, where's the rover? It was a JPL. Sorry, JPL in California.
Awesome.
Yeah, Pasadena. Yeah. Thank you, Gimpy, for once again helping me not look like an idiot.
That's what Gimpy is right.
That's COVID brain. I see. I'm operating at a distinct disadvantage now with Gimpy G.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Sorry. So there was a.
To see the rover is very interesting to see it like life size, right? Because
it's freaking huge.
That's a huge thing to go and just send to another planet.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing that really fascinates me about the rover stuff is you're building a thing that a human is not going to be able to work on. Period.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like once it's out the door, same goes for like James Webb.
Yeah.
Telescope, right?
Yeah.
Like
no maintenance.
Complicated thing. No maintenance. You don't get to. You only get one shot, right? And like the really cool stories that I've read about was in like the first two rovers. Why do I keep sucking at
Curiosity
names today?
Curiosity.
No, the first two, the pair we sent. Remember, we sent the pair.
Oh, that's right. God.
And then we sent the really big one, right?
Yeah.
But the pair that we sent, one of them had issues where like
Hubble.
No. No, not Hubble.
Not Hubble.
Hubble
I saw Hubble in the
Hubble we actually did work on.
Yeah, Hubble. Yeah. Hubble. We actually had to give it a new pair of glasses. Opportunity. Spirit and opportunity.
Right.
There you go. Thank you, Hank.
Okay. So like one of them had some issues where they had to like basically like get it in safe mode and like fix some firmware issue and like there was all this weird kind of hairy thing they had to do, and they had to do it remotely. And so you think about that, like when they were designing that thing, they had to design in enough like alternate mechanisms to be able to fix other things, right? Like you need another thing off to the side to check to make sure that this thing isn't broken.
Wise can't even get my Bluetooth freaking plugs to work regularly.
See?
Yeah.
Right. And like these guys have to figure out how to make a thing work on literally another planet, and if it breaks in some weird way, have enough like extra like knobs and switches to turn, so to speak, to be able to like get the thing back.
Well, JWT, I mean the James Webb Telescope, same thing. Well, they for a while they're like, well, we hope it works. Otherwise, it's $1 billion we just threw into space. There
are
multiple billion.
I don't know if you've seen this. There's like, I'll have to find the site. There's a website, like it's like some NASA site related with James Webb, where there's some animated videos. It's like if you were doing news coverage of it and you wanted to pull the source video, they have like there's a website with like 9 or 10.
Oh yeah. NASA has a bunch of those. The media stuff.
Yeah, like the media, dumps or whatever of videos. But like, there's some of these that are flipping amazing. Of like how that thing is not just a regular telescope. There's light passages like in the whole base of it to do spectroscopy and like all this other stuff. Where there's one thing where it's just a 3D animation of where the beam goes through the telescope. It's like, yes, it goes off the dish obviously, but then like once it goes, back in the sensor, it gets rediverted back inside the thing and like into the base of it, which is like apparently this huge thing that spreads out in multiple directions. It's like a big flat disc thing with a bunch of different sensors all around it, and it's like the light. It's like bouncing off like 20 different mirrors to be able to get to this ultimate,
Well, what is it? How many different lenses is it? It's like something like 30 or something. It's just like crazy number of.
It's ridiculous all the different paths that the light can take to do, and that's not just to make a regular image. That's like if you're trying to break down exactly what kind of light is coming off of something.
Right. Well, even the idea of having the infrared it was a whole being able to look into
the infrared thing. Yeah, that on its own is cool. But it is not nearly as simple as it looks.
No,
Just by looking at it. There is
I got a good one. I got
just
a good
insane complexity in there. Yeah.
That same thing that we're talking about, that telescope.
Yeah.
It's so precision that the light bouncing off of it can actually adjust it over time.
Ha.
So they have to. They've accounted for that, and light will reflect in between things and cancel each other out.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
God! Wow.
Interference patterns.
Yeah.
And that thing was on a rocket, basically just on a giant firecracker being hurtled through space, and it's somehow, it's amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah.
So if only we spent more time on these things instead of it drives me nuts. I look at Ukraine and I see these like previously beautiful cities with like thriving science and arts and theater and all sorts of these communities that have just been bombed out of existence. Like it's just, we're spending, and think about the money, think about the pollution, think about the lives and all the amazing things we could be doing with all those things instead of just blowing each other up. I mean, Jesus, this just seems like something out of the 1960s.
Instead of worrying about radiation levels going back up at Chernobyl because they were bombing right around it and shaking up the ground.
Yeah, even just tramping. Remember pre sort of the whole sort of Ukraine issues. They were concentrating on how to redo the dome because they were worried that there was it was degrading over time and they had to work on it. Meanwhile, now it's just we bombed it and we marched all over it. Sorry about that big cloud of radiation that's coming back over again. I mean, God, God, when I was doing research on I was doing research on a show that I wanted to do set up in the Arctic, and one of the things that came up that I really thought was an interesting and terrifying thing was that apparently when the Russians wanted to get rid of their nuclear vessels, they would just take them up into the Arctic and scuttle them because they didn't want to, because the cost associated with actually having to figure out how to deradiate them and all that kind of stuff was just too much. So they literally just randomly sunk them in the Arctic. And now, of course, we're up there drilling for oil because we're as we're getting forced further and further north for that stuff. And they're really worried about hitting something because there's just this graveyard of all these randomly dropped vessels, including nuclear submarines and nuclear ships. I mean, I know that America has a lot to answer for. I know the Brits have a lot to answer for. I'm sure eventually the Canadians will as well. Well, the Canadians do. Oh my God, look at this whole indigenous situation. But holy Russia, man, oh man, the governments of that country over the years, God, I can't get over it. I cannot get over it. If only we lived in Star Trek.
I mean, more stuff came out of Ukraine than you might realize. Like
wheat.
What was it, like xenon gas or something?
Oh, really?
Used for chip making.
Yeah.
There was lots of raw material type stuff that was used for technology around the world. That came from. I mean, it's a big country, right? They had exports.
No,
things that the world benefited from.
I think this is why it was so shocking to us because, as always, it's like, oh my God, there's white people killing each other like that, which is of course generally much more newsworthy for us than the rest of the world. There's parts of the world obviously where this has been happening forever, but I guess for us, that sort of the penny drops for us when we see what looks like familiar cities, like familiar social structures, familiar, in industry and such, in a war situation. I mean, it just doesn't, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's such a hard thing it's you're scratching the surface of this stuff. But again, I always just go back to history. Like once you know the history of these things, you can tell where it's going. I mean, anyways, was it, I should probably just scroll through and just see if there's anybody I should be thanking. Did anyone wake Cal up, by the way? I've been chatting with Cal. Yeah. I think I've been chatting with Cal over the last few days. Thank you, everybody in the chat, by the way. I'm sorry I've not had a chance to get to everybody. Gimpy's been pretty good by looks of it about getting people back to people. I don't have, because I'm no longer using my, whatever it's called, Streamlabs. Yeah, I'm using just OBS now instead of Streamlabs. I don't have that nice little list of all the people who've done donations and stuff. But hey, so there's a couple of first-time scrubs, first-time members here. There's a Salty Scrub. The Russians also haven't learned that you can't just leave equipment laying in storage and roll it out. That's what we're saying. Yeah. Welcome, Salty Scrub. What else we got in here? Let me see. A lot of GimpyG. GimpyG, you're everywhere today.
Oh yeah.
For another first-time chat, Neoreal, Sega Saturn. Yep, I remember the Sega Saturn. Saturn. Saturn.
Sega Saturn, not non-glossy.
Sega Saturn, exactly. I prefer the glossy version. Watcher652, thank you very much. Another first-time chat from Spiffy Jenny. RPGs on bulletin boards. No, I missed that. I don't know what that was. Role-playing games on bulletin boards. I remember that from years ago, but you know. One day you'll have to get in with us on the Dungeons and Dragons, Alan.
Oh, yeah, I need to do that. I am super. I'll have to study up first because
you really don't. You really don't. Gimpy G
Yeah.
and I have made it our mission to make it as absolutely non-professional as possible.
Gimpy, didn't you?
Yeah.
Weren't you gonna make a Twitter something? What was that thing?
Yeah, weren't you going to make a Twitter?
No.
Oh no,
Not
that was
that.
David fell off the cliff. We were gonna do a Twitter Spaces show.
Oh yeah, we wanted to.
Spaces.
Yes, and then I'm sorry, then I got completely coveted. Yeah. Yeah, we thought about doing we thought we should do, just because it seems like the perfect platform for Gimpy G right now. Although I was saying, I think Gimpy, you got to get one of those like noise canceling headphones.
Yes.
Like,
I found one
Is
called
Cal,
the Antlion.
is Cal active? Is Cal alive?
is Cal alive? Yeah, no, there it's not. It's Cal's birthday, so everyone should say happy birthday to Cal.
Thanks.
It's Cal's back. Oh, that's so sweet of her to come by on her birthday like that.
I wanted to ask Cal. I'm trying to post a link.
Oh, here I can do it. No, don't tell Cal.
Oh,
I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. I can
Gonna
do it.
cross the streams.
What is your name though? Is it under Alan or is it
It's just
Malventano?
Don't infringe on Cal's turf.
Well, wait, no, but it's not showing up under.
I should be there. Wait.
Are you in the chat?
Am I not logged
Which
in?
chat are you in? Oh, you're not logged into the Twitch
Oh,
chat.
there. I just hit test on the Twitch. I'm there.
Okay, I'm looking. What? Maybe I'm not logged in. Wait a second. What's going on?
Are you not logged in?
I may not be logged in.
Cal's gonna beat you to it then. Cal's gonna.
Cal. Okay, Cal. Cal, could you let Malventano post this link? Thank you very much. Cal, if you wouldn't mind permitting Malventano to post a link, because apparently I'm not actually logged in or something. No, I must be logged in. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you have to. You're streaming.
Yeah, you have to be.
Ha! Done it. Did it.
You did it?
Did I beat her?
Oh,
I did! Oh my god, I beat Cal!
You beat-
Oh!
That's it. I'm
But it's not
screenshotting
fair
that.
because it's Cal's birthday, so she's probably she's
Screenshotting that for all eternity.
she's probably a little drunk. Probably. That's probably what it is.
Wow, that's
Celebrating.
You're
There you
so-
go. Yeah. What's the video?
on,
What are we looking at?
That's the video that does the breakdown of all the stuff in the James Webb.
Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. All right.
It's like
Aw, Elmer Fudd, thank you very much. Or Fudster. Just giving away
is,
tears and things.
That's so nice.
there's just you just sit there with, and like my jaw was hanging open by the time I got to the end of it, because it just keeps escalating. It's like, oh no, but we can also do this, and we can also do this, and the light can also go here. It's just ridiculous.
That is awesome. Okay, all right. So I gotta be looking at that. That's on my. Oh, I know what I want to talk to you guys about. This is another topic that we don't have enough time for probably, but I'm gonna bring it up anyways. Have you looked at all into this second brain stuff?
Tell me more.
It's
You
a
were talking about this before,
Yeah,
that's it.
it's a nerdy term basically for note taking. But the idea is like, what is the optimal digital
Oh, yeah.
way of taking notes?
Didn't you mention something? I'm looking for a good solution for this.
Well, this is the funny thing. So there's a guy who I found who I really like. He's a bit, he's a bit sort of like, I'm trying to think. He's like one of those like movie billionaires where it's like, well, this is how I see the planet. But let me see. I think he even he might be the guy.
All I'm thinking of is the guy from Don't Look Up.
That's it. That's what. No, he's not like that. But it's a bit like that. Second Brain. I think he's the guy who actually runs Second Brain. Let me see if I got the guy's name here.
Oh, is that just
That's
the name of the thing that I
Forte.
need to
Yeah,
look up?
it's Forte Labs. It's something Forte. I'll put a link in if.
Where
if I'm allowed to.
Okay.
If I'm allowed to.
Are you allowed to?
I don't know. Cal's probably banned me now.
Yeah, Cal's probably shut off
Well,
all of your ability to do anything.
It's her birthday, so you don't want to, I don't want to be too hard on her. So there you go.
Speaking of which.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh my God.
My belated birthday present.
Oh, it's early for next year, actually.
Was that? No,
yeah.
You're not getting away with that.
I just got. Oh my God. I was looking through that list of. Holy crap! There's some great stuff in there.
When I first mentioned it, and you're like, "Oh, I don't know if I need." No, that's not just projects. That's just information.
Oh my God! It's like so. It's this humble bundle that Alan was very kind to give me for my birthday.
Until Friday.
Oh, there you go. Oh, well, do you have the link?
I'll find it. Cal, give me the thing again.
I'm doing it. Permit.
Hold on, I'll find the link. I only have 60 seconds to find the link.
I can't find it. Why?
Is there some way to just turn that on? You don't have to like.
Yeah, you should be in the list here as a. Why isn't it? Oh, because you're under Malventano. I keep looking up the wrong thing, right? I keep looking up Alan instead of Malventano.
No, Cal doesn't like me on the list.
I
gotta get on Cal's good side.
Yeah, you've got to make sure that there's got to be you got to spend some time really being nice to her, like I am.
Lots of birthday wishes.
Lots of time, birthday wishes all the time. She loves that.
All the birthday
and
wishes.
presents and things. Oh yeah, she loves that.
Okay. Do I need to send Cal an SSD? Does Cal need that stored?
What? You haven't sent me any SSDs. I just got a lousy humble bundle.
I thought you were good, dude. You need something.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Oh, there you go. I could do so. If we make him a VIP, does that work? Can I do that from here?
Humble bundle.
I don't know how to do these things. The humble bundle thing is really fascinating because it's like electronics, it's like engineering, it's sensors. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be way beyond me.
Because there is humble bundles for video games, but they also have like a humble book.
Yeah, this is all like the one that I think I'm going to start with is probably electronics, the electronics one, because I want to just sort of plow through some of that. I've been doing so because what you want to do when you're in a brain fog is do a course on networking. So I've done I'm doing a course on networking. I'm doing a course on statistics. I'm doing a course on molecular biology, and I'm trying to just do a little bit every day of a little bit of it, if that makes sense. Because I've discovered that what I tend to do is go like, okay, I'm taking a week off and I'm just going to learn molecular biology. And then 10 years goes by and that week's of information is complete wasted because I just don't remember any of it anyway. So I'm trying to maintain, Gimpy G probably already knows this because he's done this a million times, but the idea of like trying to do a little tiny bit of learning every day in my various different fields that I like, and like biohacking, all that kind of stuff. And then using this second brain approach, I want a better name for second brain because it just sounds cheesy. It's basically, so I make a point.
Bookmarking.
It's what? It's bookmarking,
like
yes.
bookmarking.
But it's like, how do you automate that process? How do you make that as simple as possible? Because the more complicated it is, the less likelihood is that you're going to use it or that you're going to do it. So I'm forcing myself when I'm doing these courses to jot notes down. So I've usually like watching on my iPad and then jotting notes down on my iPhone using Evernote right now. But my dad uses just Google Documents. And I'm beginning to wonder if maybe that's a better way to go because their search is amazing. There's no importing or exporting or any of that kind of stuff. I wondered about maybe switching to that, but I spend more time switching back and forth between different systems for notes than I do taking the frickin' notes. That's my problem.
Right. And you want something that's like in the cloud, goes places easily, if you just get to it from all your devices.
Yes. Right? And Evernote has that promise, but its sync is very slow. It syncs very slowly. It's a little kludgy. Things just go oddly wrong here and there. I'm talking myself out of it. I've just signed up for it again in an attempt to try to make it work because I'm trying to force myself into using it because this guy talks about this. I put the link in there before, the Forte Labs guy, there's something Forte. I really like him. I sort of was joking about him, but I do like his perspective on it because he says basically we've got to stop being consumers and start being, what was the term he used? Start being,
Forte Labs. I'm looking.
It's not, you're not consuming it. Oh God, here goes the brand. I'm beginning to fade now, but you are, not concierge. You're basically instead of just consuming information. Curating it. So yes, you get rid of that and get rid of the just consuming stuff. Because this is what I do: is I'll sit down, and the other thing is like watching things like I go on Twitter and I find all these really cool things to watch, and I'll go down the rabbit hole with all of them, and thus get nothing done. And
all you end up with is running out of memory because you got 3,000 tabs open.
Exactly. So what I now do is, and I don't know whether this is actually what he told us, but that's what I've been doing, is basically when I find something of interest, I don't look at it right away. I put it in my to-read list. Because if it's in Twitter, I know what's going to happen. I'll just follow it through to its end, or I run out of time. Whereas if I put it in my to-read, I know that when I have time to actually go and look at this stuff, I will look at that as opposed to get distracted. Because even just going to Twitter trying to find the article that I saw earlier that I wanted to read, and I'm gone. Like maybe it's an ADHD thing, maybe it's just the nature of Twitter, but these things aren't designed to be searched and found. They're designed to consume your time, right? So, but the idea of being able to
Should be wishing Cal happy birthday on his way out.
What was that?
Just the chat. Sorry.
Oh, is that it? Is Gimpy G gone?
I think he's leaving.
Ah, but did Cal bounce him out? She gets mean around birthday time. She gets pretty mean.
He said happy birthday, David. Sorry. Okay.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah.
But it's not my birthday.
Well, but it was.
I know, it was yesterday. And it was lovely. I had a lovely, lovely birthday, and everyone was very sweet and sent lots and lots of lovely messages or really cheeky messages, and it was great. I literally spent most of my day.
Bundles.
And humble bundles, no kidding.
You were so funny. Like, oh no, I don't. I was like, yes, sorry, you're getting it.
Dude, I was like, but you're just. I'm like terrified to say anything to you for fear that you're going to give it to me. People are too nice. Damn it. It took me. How long did it take me to get you your gift?
Listen,
your gift took a year and a half, 2 years to get to you.
How can I not send McKay engineering books?
That's true. That is true. It's true. And how can I not take them?
How can you not take them?
We'll
make you the real McKay eventually.
Yeah, maybe. By the day I die, I might know enough to know that I don't know enough. This is the weird thing that I discover is that Jane said to me the other day, she's like, okay, so molecular biology, why? I was like, what do you mean why? She goes like, why do you need to know about molecular biology? I said, right. But we're made of molecular biology. She's like, yeah, but what are you going to do with it? I was like, I'm going to know it. She's like, but what are you going to know it? What's the purpose of it? I said, look, I took a course with the Odin, which is the Open something Discovery Institute or whatever it is. It's Josiah Zahner's biohacking company. Amazing guy, and I love what he's doing. He sells basically kits and tools and supplies for bioengineering, at home, citizen science stuff. And I took their Biology 101 course. And in the first video, it says read the first 2 chapters of Molecular Biology, this huge book on molecular biology. That was 2 years ago. I'm still sitting down to read that all the time. So this is one of the things that I force myself to do is I'm getting through the first 2 chapters of that book. And I know that's a stupid little thing to go for, and I'm not going to try to do it all in one go. I just read like a page and a half every day, and I jot down copious notes. Because what I discover is I took a 72-hour course on biology on the great lectures. It was amazing. I walked the dog. I learned this. I came back feeling like a freaking genius. It's gone in a week. In a week, it's gone. If you don't write notes down, it's gone. Forget it.
Yeah, you need the notes.
Or you're not using it. If you're not using
something else I found that really applies to is, believe it or not, like learning Linux.
Yeah. Oh, or programming, anything like that. Yeah.
Or programming, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's a super technical thing. There's all sorts of tangents to the knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, oh yeah, I need to solve this one problem. Okay, you do this, and that, and it's like, oh wait, how does that one thing in the middle work? Oh wait, and then that opens up into another whole,
But that's a type of brain too, and because I love that. That's one of my. I love it and I hate it. I would love to be able to just follow instructions and get something done, but I hate not understanding them. You know what I mean? I don't want to know. I want someone to say like, "This is just type in this, this, and this." I'm like, but what is it? What does it mean?
Yeah.
How
like
does it
the
work?
way, I just want to search a file for some particular string of text in Linux. Oh, but wait, there's a whole, way of doing like regular expression search strings and like how do you?
Oh, I love. Oh my God, I love that.
Right? Yeah, and it's just but yes, it's very useful to have some sort of a okay, I wanted to do this one quick command in Linux. I ended up with 20 browser tabs open.
Well, I gotta say, regular expressions you don't go wrong on. I find like regular expressions are something that's so useful because you can use it in Google, use it everything. Yeah.
Just that one quick thing I wanted to solve, I end up with a bunch of tabs open that I all intend to follow up on.
Oh
later,
yeah.
Right. That that's like, yeah. Am I really going to be able to get to that? Probably not. It's going to get minimized.
Well, I have a list in my second brain. I have a list called Probably Never.
Right. Well, what would be handy though is it's like, okay, for each one of those pages that I had open, there was really only a sentence or two of useful information that I was getting. Right. Do I really need to keep track of all those and go back and try to reread the whole thing and whatever? No. So what would be handy is if there's just like something that's very good at, and I know that like, I think OneNote does this. I think I've tried to get into using.
Can't do OneNote. I can't do OneNote. It kept crashing on me. It kept doing. It's like, just been a disaster.
That's
Google Keep's nice.
I liked. Wait, which one?
Google Keep.
There's a thing called Google Keep.
Yeah, okay. Google Keep was pretty good, but honestly,
because what I want
for just dumping stuff,
I want to be able to cut and paste a line of something from a page, right? But then when I paste it into my little note thing, I want it to be able to link back to the source as well. That's the important thing.
Yeah, so there's and that's basically what you're talking about is creating the second brain, I guess, for want of a better word. Because he's coming up with all these little hacks, like he uses Instapaper, which allows you to highlight a text and then it'll automatically get dumped into Evernote. And he uses if this, then that. He uses all these different things because he says there is no one solution. So right now, the way I do stuff is like all of my bookmarks are done in Raindrop.io. All of them. Because it's so simple. I just go click and then I type a couple of tags and then I'm done. And it's in there. But my notes are kept on Evernote. Because I can have it on my phone, I can have it on my iPad, I can have it on my computer, I can have it on my laptop, I can have it on Mac, and a PC, it doesn't matter to me. Even on Linux, I think. I would love it all to be in one place. That'd be way easier for me. I also played with something called, which you might like, but that's a whole rabbit hole right there. Obsidian. Have you played with Obsidian at all? Obsidian is a markup language which allows you to create links within your own documents. So you start creating a mind cloud of things that connect to other things as you go, which is fantastic. But for me, it wasn't good because the reason why I went with Evernote right now, and we'll see if I stick with it or not this time, I find Evernote is the best way of just dumping information into a place to organize. You then need to have the discipline, which I don't have, which I'm working on, to go in and then make sure that data is organized properly. So I dump everything into the inbox, and then I go in and I tag it and stuff later because I don't love the tagging system as the with the plugin, with the Chrome plugin and stuff. But
I wonder if there's something that like you can roll your own sort of a thing.
That's what I'd like to do. The little Python scripts and
not just that, but have it in the cloud, but you're the cloud.
Oh, hey, buddy.
Words,
hey, I just came to wonder if you need anything.
No, but I should probably be wrapping up. So I'll probably be like about maybe 20 minutes.
Okay.
Is that all right?
I'm waiting on you for the video as well. So.
You're waiting on me? You are? Okay, I'll 15 then. I'll make it 15.
Make it as long as you need.
20.
Yeah.
All right. Don't blame me for not getting your homework done. That's not fair.
Sure.
Oh my God, I'm gonna be so in trouble. Okay.
Put it on you.
Thanks,
Put it
Baz.
on you.
Thanks for coming by, Voice of Doom. Apparently, he's waiting on me to finish the project that was due. How long ago?
Okay, we can wind down with this thought experiment.
All right, go.
So for example, there is a Dropbox equivalent called OwnCloud.
Oh yeah, I haven't tried that.
And if you have a home server, there's even like what this thing called. Have you messed with Docker?
I haven't. I've read about it, but I haven't actually played with it.
Docker is like a
Isn't that Linux based
thing it's under Linux usually.
Right.
But you can like have containers of like entire services. So instead of like installing a thing on your main operating system, you can have it just a containerized. This is a Docker that does WordPress, and so you can just have like a website. Right. And like the WordPress thing, all of the WordPress services are all just contained in this Docker. And the idea is you just pull it down from some repository on the internet, and it's installed. It fires up immediately. You point it at your HTTP files, and poof, suddenly you can fire up a web server in like 2 minutes.
Right.
Basically,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So there's an OwnCloud Docker, I think. same thing, right? So it's a Dropbox equivalent. It just makes the service. You have to do some fancy stuff with your home network as far as being able to get to it from the outside. You know, you have to like forward a port at your router and make sure it goes to the whatever computer's running the Docker for that thing, right? So the idea is there, if you had a bunch of storage at home, you could have your own sort of Dropbox, right? And then they have all the apps for iOS or for your phones or for your, you know, mobile devices or whatever. Same kind of thing as Dropbox, except you are doing it yourself and you're not relying on anybody
Except
else,
I would spend all of my time playing with that setup and not getting any notes taken.
Well, no, but the thing is, for many of these things, there's very little to configure because it's all in the package. It's all ready. Like it's all the work, all the hard work has been done for you to like make the thing work. All you have to do is like just make sure the internet can connect to it, and you're off to the races with minimal tweaks.
Well, I mean, I used to use the Drobo as a like for sharing file stuff every so often because it was just it was online. It was easy to do.
Services, there's services that you can run.
But then I turned it off because I was like, I'm not sure I want all of my files. Yeah.
Yes, it's a security thing. I would not run services off of the only copy of some of your things.
Yeah,
you know
probably a bad idea. I felt.
Yeah. But you can have like some other computer. You can even, some people even run these things on like a Raspberry Pi. You could have like this tiny little thing sitting in the corner just running Docker containers, right? But I wonder if there's some sort of information management note kind of thing, maybe that somebody has, maybe that's being worked on somewhere, that there's like a Docker container of the back end of, and you can just basically have your own like note, you know, your own note server. That way you're not paying someone else for the service, you're just hosting it yourself.
I mean, one of the other things is also just getting data in and out, because I know I've been through this numerous times. Sorry, I'm beginning to fade. But I've been going through this. I've gone through this numerous times where I've been on Evernote. I've taken Evernote off. I've done Dropbox. I've done Keep. I've tried everything. I mean, things
and
I have.
Data's not very portable between the two, the multiple.
Google is the best for that at exporting stuff for sure.
And that's kind of why I was wondering, like, part of the reason I was thinking Docker containers is most of those were just the container itself only contains the program. It's almost like you're installing the program by running the Docker, right? But then you can point it at some locations on your network to actually do the storage. So, for example, you know, if you run a Docker container that needs to contain a database of something, it'll just usually put down a regular like SQLite database just on your drive, right? So the idea there probably is that, you know, your data would be in, you know, something that you might have to go jump through a couple of hoops to get it the way you wanted it, but it would just be in a regular database.
I love the idea of that, but my thing, for me, just knowing the way I am, it has to be, like, I would rather spend $10 a month or whatever, just to know that it's always going to be there, that it's always going to work, that, you know, that's my thing. And I think, and his point basically is, he's saying, like, look, I'm not preaching that you should use any one technology. He just says you just need to have a system. Where is it that he says these things? I think if you go to Forte Labs, he has a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of it's available for free, and then of course you can then pay to take a big seminar that's going to be incredibly helpful and change your life. Apparently,
ForteLabs.io.
I think it's just co. Is that right?
Or .co. Yeah.
I think it's just co. Yeah.
Found it.
Okay, I'm gonna put the link in here anyways for everybody else.
Looking at the front page, it's not very obvious like where you would go from there to like.
He's got look. That's probably not the best link for him, anyways. He's got a bunch of stuff on YouTube.
Podcasts, like YouTube videos.
There's a podcast. Actually, you know what? His podcast is good because it's not a particularly good podcast, but it basically it's just his teaching is all just divided up into little segments, and it was actually pretty good. Let me see here.
Okay, that link's good.
Let me see here.
Yeah, that link you just put in the chat is.
Was that good? Okay. Because I listened to one that he did. It may even just be called the Second Brain Podcast. Let me have a look.
Right. So what do I need to do to make the links work for me in the future?
I think we could just make you a VIP. I think that's all that's needed. Podcasters. Why can't I? The latest startup. No. Oh, maybe I didn't actually subscribe to it. Hang on. Second Brain. I think there's a podcast.
Cal. I'm assuming Cal's the one that turned.
Yeah, Cal can. I mean, yeah, we can figure that out.
I promise to never wish you happy birthday again.
But I have to go into. Don't I have to go into like mod mode to do that?
I don't know. Cal probably knows how to do it.
Yeah, she'll figure it out. She'll figure it out.
She probably has all the. She could just take over your life one day. Have you
Sure.
been watching that?
She already has.
Halo?
Are you kidding?
You been watching that Halo TV series?
Oh no, how is it?
It's decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that is damning with faint praise, I would say.
No. I mean, it's like it's trying to get its footing. It's trying to. You're not sure where it's going, and but it's good. It's good. It's good sci-fi. But that was the reason I brought that up. Is like there's a part where Cortana's in his brain, and Cortana's able to just shut down the Master Chief apparently.
Right.
In this TV series, right? So it's like one day Cal's just gonna like turn your switch.
Yeah, probably. I'm thinking that's probably where it's gonna go. Yeah. I mean, she's probably trying. She's probably trying right now. Is my guess. Right, if she could, she'd have shut me down long ago. I'm sure. Is that right? Can I do? Oh, a sec. So if I do this.
Oh.
A sec.
Bang VIP'd nothing.
I know that didn't work. Try this. Did that work? See if that worked. I've added Malventano as a VIP of this channel. There you go. Done. Boom. So I don't know what that means exactly, but that means I
have no idea.
I think that means you can now post. I think. Try posting now. See if you can post something. Well, what are you gonna do now? Just post spam. And then
that humble bundle thing.
Don't make me laugh.
What happened?
Don't make me laugh. Okay. Jack Jazra, David, happy belated birthday.
What just happened?
What do you mean?
Somebody made you laugh and you were like choking?
I might have made myself laugh. I'm a very funny man. All right.
Because your shoulder thing? Oh, that's because your lung thing.
No, it's because my I've got COVIDs and shoulders. It's like I'm an old man.
We couldn't make you laugh before because your shoulder, it would make your shoulder hurt.
Oh, that's right. Maybe there's just no laughter left in my life. Maybe that's it.
Have you done some physical therapy for that, man? Like sometimes it helps.
Yeah, I've been doing physical therapy. I'm actually going to go. I was supposed to get an ultrasound, and then of course I blew positive, and now I'm waiting to blow negative so I can go back and get my ultrasound done. But
well, don't blow that off because like they need to.
No, I know. I'm like
but
I'm not blowing it off. I was all ready to go, and then I
know.
I went. Yeah, but I don't think they're going to let me in unless I'm negative.
Yeah. I'm just saying once you're negative, like, cause,
But how long does it take to go negative? Like, I mean, like I've been testing like every other day. I'm like already at day 10 tomorrow.
That seems long.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm still coughing and I'm still breathing heavily. So that's
that you could still have the symptoms, but like because the symptoms last longer than being positive for COVID at least. Like the symptoms go longer, depending. I'm still kind of surprised you got hit as hard as you did.
10 days, yeah. I'm convinced that I got hit hard because of COVID because I was I was already down. I'd already been kicked down with the shingles vaccine, right? That honestly, the shingles vaccine was more uncomfortable. I felt more like dying on the shingles than I did on an actual COVID. But the COVID is dragging on though. The shingles thing was like a day and a half done, and then I was like,
but you already kind of knocked on your butt a little bit though.
That was it.
Maybe.
And as it turns out, my doctor, the one who gave me the shingles shot, was then home with COVID like the next day. So chances are he was probably infectious when I went to see him about the COVID shot. So yeah.
Great. So you weren't even kidding.
No, I wasn't kidding. No. I mean, look, I could be wrong, and it's not, and I don't blame him in any way. It's impossible. What do? We're not testing. It's like we're in like a silent surge at this point right now, where it's just everyone's just pretending it doesn't exist. It's bizarre. I go to the grocery store. There are people not wearing masks. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you breathing on my fruits and veggies without masks on? It doesn't make any sense.
Cora and Horn in the chat's talking about the anthrax shot for the military. Yeah, that was a thing too.
What? An anthrax shot?
There was an anthrax vaccine.
Did it work?
Well,
make you pretty sick.
That's debatable. Like,
yeah. Well, they say the shingles one they're not sure about either.
I think when that whole hoopla went on, where they did a round where they were like vaccinating everybody. Like I think I happened to be under the ocean when that happened, and then I think they got to the point where they were like, well, it's not that big a deal now, so don't. I think by the time I pulled back in, I didn't have to do it. There was some vaccine for it that was kind of like really, really rushed and like had some side effects, and like it wasn't great.
And the idea was that it would make you less susceptible to an anthrax attack.
Yeah. It was when this was like what?
But anthrax is just another
this
virus.
Was 15 years ago when it was like
they were sending paper. They were sending envelopes. Yeah.
It was when that was
I'm not sure who they were.
It was happening. Well, they meaning
Yeah.
idiots who.
No, there were just a lot of idiots
right.
doing the same thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, SD Jalana. All right, I should wrap up.
It made people super sore when they got it.
Well, that was I was told. My dad wasn't so sure about. My dad's a retired doctor. He wasn't sure about the shingles vaccine. He was like, I don't know. And I've heard that it might work, it might not. I thought I'd just get it.
Get that? Oh, okay. So you
because I'm over 50, and apparently, and my mom just got it. And I didn't realize that shingles can make you blind. It can make you deaf. It's actually it can be quite dangerous. Apparently.
Yeah. Well, there's some, there's things you got to do when you start getting older.
Yeah, Vipup. This is we should just call this old bandits. Really.
Okay, I just had to drink a bunch of prep about a month ago.
Oh no! Did you have to do that? Oh
yeah,
man!
Had to do that.
I got to send in a sample.
Well, I decided for the first one I had to do, I might as well do the full one because
we don't have that option here. Again, they don't do it unless they decide that they think they should.
Well, the one you
whereas in the States, I would do it.
They give you the option.
Yeah.
But I could have done the other one, but it's not like 100%.
Right.
It's just it's not a sure thing.
Right.
I was like, I'm not screwing around with this. I don't want to die early if I can help it.
I'd rather avoid that as long as possible. I think I mean, generally, stay alive is.
Yeah. I'll deal.
What are you worried about? You're immortal.
Well, apparently not, since
according to Gimpy G.
What was really funny was there was because when the Super Bowl halftime show, there was a bunch of memes that came out talking like, if you enjoyed this halftime show, it may be time for you to schedule your colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because of the singers that were up there, like when it was all like.
If you're enjoying this, you're so old. You should definitely be.
If you're enjoying this, you should. And
that's
like,
a good point, actually.
And I think I reposted that meme, I retweeted that meme or something, and like literally the next morning I got the call from the doctor's office.
Oh, that's too funny.
And I was like, oh no.
No, we get sent these like little envelopes. We get sent these little envelopes that ask you for a sample. And
don't put this on your neighbor's doorstep.
Exactly. Yeah. Mail within 2 days. You want fresh. Yeah. So, all right.
So horrible.
I know it's just revolting in every way. It's just don't get older. That's the key.
Go do your son's. Some homework.
Let me go do my son's homework. Yes, exactly. How did I get stuck filming it? God damn it! All right. We spent we spent a big chunk of yesterday building this thing for his business class, which is like kind of like a complicated joke. And I love him for it because it's actually quite funny. But it is amazing how much time it takes to get his homework done. And I think he's going to school tomorrow. Like they said, we called the school because I was keeping him home because I was like, look, if I was in school, if you came home from school and said, oh, the guy next to me said that his parents are both home positive with COVID, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing in school then? Right? But apparently, nope, you're supposed to go to school. As long as you're tested as long as you're not, negative.
What was the way you phrased it to me the other day? You phrased it perfectly. Something about like the way you described your son's school.
What did I say?
Where is it? Plague school.
Plague school. It is plague school. It's because everyone's. Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed that it didn't come home with him, but. Whatever. It just seems so weird to me because Jane and I have been going back and forth on this because I still feel like he should just stay home because I'm just like, why would you? You're putting people. I mean, again, I know they're all vaccinated, or if they're not, they're taking their own risk. But
it's still the thing that worries me is it's still a really bad vector for spread, right? It's like
I'm worried about this long COVID thing.
Yeah.
I'm worried about this long COVID thing because they don't have any. I mean, if we don't know who's getting it, or people are testing themselves and going like, "Oh, I got COVID," whatever. How are we gonna gauge this stuff? Like, the world gets. We all lose like 8 IQ points, and we're all. God, I lose 8 IQ points. I'm done. That's it. Forget it. I won't make any sense. I'll just have to play Minecraft on YouTube live. That'll be my Twitch stream from there on in.
I would join that.
Yeah, there you go. See, Vipup's like all over that.
People watch that,
I know it's true. Yeah. It is
true. Which, I don't know if you're ever going to get into this, but I needed to plug it. Have you ever played Factorio?
No, a number of people have been bugging me about that. Factorio,
consider it.
It's beautiful.
I think you should try Satisfactory because that's like 3D Factorio.
Satisfactory is 3D Factorio, but I will say Factorio is kind of like the OG, right? It's
Really?
like the original. Like, yeah, because yeah.
I just want everyone to notice that Alan just used the term OG.
It is.
Yeah,
it
with
is.
no
Factorio,
irony. Yeah.
Factorio's been around for years. Satisfactory basically just like took their formula and just made it more 3D.
Which I love the idea of, but will also make me motion sickness.
Well, that too. Yeah, like the
I prefer the top-down approach to stuff.
If you liked Age of Empires and stuff like that, like this is literally like that style. It's just top-down.
When I first moved to LA, my biggest accomplishment had nothing to do with acting. It was about the fact of the amount of time I spent playing was it Civilization? Not Civilization.
Yeah. Well, that was one of them.
No, SimCity.
Yeah.
On an old Mac.
If you really liked the original SimCities and stuff like that, then Factorio is like that kind of on steroids.
Yeah, because you know what I need, Alan, is more things to waste my time with. That's really.
Well, yeah, maybe let's not. Maybe let's not.
I've got three Wi-Fi. I've got three mesh Wi-Fi thing, TP-Link mesh Wi-Fi thing sitting in that box there that I have to figure out how to get better Wi-Fi in our freaking house right now. That's my new endeavor.
Well, that should be pretty easy though if it's just an out of the box meant to be a mesh thing. Right?
I'm sure it's supposed to be easy out of the box, but you know me, and you know that I'm not going to make it easy because
it shouldn't be too hard.
No, I don't think so.
I think the biggest complication with that is because what do you have, a router or just a modem connected to a router? What do you got currently?
I want to replace I don't like the Wi-Fi on our Bell system because
is it in one box?
It's in one box, and then I've got a Ubiquity switch that I use.
Okay, but do you currently have that one box in like pass through, so that the Ubiquity is the thing that acts like
basically yes. Basically yes. I still have Wi-Fi running on the original router, which I want to turn off and have set up a separate network for my IoT devices, and then have one for ourselves as well.
Well, okay.
I also have a PF-Sense router, which I've now pulled out of the system because I'm just going to play with it because it's too freaking complicated. I've been playing with it and loving it, but I'm thinking about
I'm not sure exactly what equipment you have, but you'll save yourself a lot of headache by like Googling the name of your modem and like IP pass-through or bridge mode or something.
Yeah, you can do it. I can get rid of the Wi-Fi network, and that basically shuts down everything. But you can't go full bridge mode because it requires it. They need to do the. It needs to provide our television as well, right? So there's certain limitations.
Yeah.
So what I do basically is shut down and I get in trouble for this all the time. I shut down all of the Wi-Fi on the router, so it is just basically the WAN in on a Ubiquity switch. Which I love. Oh my God, I love the Ubiquity switches. Like the little, the software.
You're going to stick with the Ubiquity and try to add the mesh things underneath it?
The mesh is going to be attached to the Ubiquity. So basically, because they just work, don't they just generally work like broadcasts?
If you already had the Ubiquity, I'm kind of surprised you didn't get like another Ubiquity access point.
I was going to, but they were expensive and they weren't.
I know, they are.
Yeah, and they weren't. These were they weren't rugged. I wanted one to put in my garage. So one of the big issues I have is I've got two cameras out in the garage, and I'm also out in the garage doing stuff. And I always want. I mean, I guess I could use cellular, but I like the idea of there being a good system.
You don't have a wire. You don't have a network line.
No, but I'm also, once I can move my arms over my shoulders again, my hope is that I will be able to run a wire. Thank you. He's keeping track of how many times I complain about my arms. I'm hoping to run an Ethernet cable between the garage and because there's a whole bunch of cables running in the sky over there. And I just thought I would just add it to that bunch.
Well,
unless it's power, and then I'll be electrocuted and I'll be dead.
So the Ubiquity thing that you have right now is a box that's a Ubiquity box that also has its own Wi-Fi, or no?
No Wi-Fi. It's just a layer. It's a nice layer 2-3 switch. I think it's 2 and 3.
So wait, okay. So you have all your wired stuff going through the Ubiquity and then to your router.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But so the router comes out of the router. The
router itself is
the Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi.
Right. And then I have a couple of access points that come out of the Ubiquity right now, but they're not mesh. They're separate systems, and I don't want separate systems. I want a mesh system now.
Okay. All right, so you should be able to pull those access points.
And put in 3 of these instead.
One of the TP. Well, if you don't have wired backhaul going to the other places yet, specifically the garage, right? You probably want one of those TPs is probably going to need to sit right at the Ubiquity box, just short cable.
Right.
And then that's going to be the host of the rest of your mesh. And then you should be able to take the other 2 and like.
Oh, do I have to set one as host? Is that?
Yeah, that's my point. Like, it's gonna try to conflict potentially with because your Wi-Fi is coming from the other side of the Ubiquity box. So, but if you had access points that you were then using from underneath the Ubiquity, you're gonna need to take those access points away. You're replacing it with the mesh.
That's the plan. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. So
and then I might put one of the APs, one of the access points, maybe down here, just so I've got Wi-Fi on my own separate little network or something.
Yeah, and if you have a wire, I assume you have Ethernet running from the Ubiquity box to there.
I do. I've been running it through the house. Yeah.
So then that will be one of the TP-Link boxes with what's called a wired backhaul, provided you can configure them that way. So that'll be plugged in.
The backhaul is basically like a wired connection.
It's how it connects to the rest of the LAN.
Right. Okay. So you have one that's wired. The rest of them then feed off that to be the mesh. And ideally, I'll have another wire.
Yeah, the more wired backhaul you can do, provided that the mesh devices support wired backhaul, because some mesh devices will just assume everything is just Wi-Fi.
Right. Yeah, I think you could do. I think you could do, because there's power over Ethernet, and there's also just a standard Ethernet on the back of these as well. So I think I could. Yeah. But they also have their dual channel. I think are designed to have one channel that works for
the backhaul.
For the backhaul. Yeah.
That's how it talks to the main internet source. Right.
Yeah.
But no matter what, you need at least one of those boxes at the Ubiquity box.
Okay. That makes sense. That's fine, which makes sense because that's where
or it can be, if you wanted your origination point to just be in your office, I mean, it's still a wired connection to the Ubiquity box in your office. It just needs to be like, that's the first thing that wired connection.
Yeah, but it makes sense to have one there anyways, because it's in the middle of I specifically had them put the modem in the middle of the house so that I could sort of branch out from there.
That's your sweet spot for the base of operations of the mesh.
It's just whether Jane will notice that there's a big antenna looking thing sticking on the wall where there wasn't. But we'll see. We'll see what she's.
And then see if they support wired backhaul, if there's some little switch in their options or whatever, right? Put one in the office, but have it plugged in using wired backhaul. And then for now, the one in the garage can just use the wireless backhaul on the other channel.
Yeah. Right. So if I have a Wi-Fi, if I put one of the Wi-Fis in here, I can have it connected through Ethernet. So have the backhaul on that. Then the one on the middle floor would also be wired, and then
it'll be like the main one.
Yeah. So that'll be lightning. That'll be lightning fast, and then I just have the hoping that the range will be enough to get to the garage on the other one.
What you don't want to happen is everything in the office that's using the Wi-Fi, because it's a mesh, it will naturally migrate to the one that's right there in the office, right? You don't want all of that Wi-Fi traffic having to go through that hop to that access point, that mesh point, and then go Wi-Fi again to the other one, provided if you did have a wired connection, right? Because your latency goes much higher if you have to make multiple hops over Wi-Fi because you're sharing the same.
And basically the basic premise of a Wi-Fi access point is that it's just a broadcast on your network, right? It's no more complicated than that, right? It's basically like having a switch.
If it's just an access point, then yes, it's basically a Wi-Fi switch.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. That's what I thought.
But the thing you're doing is different.
Because the mesh thing, which I don't entirely understand.
The thing you're doing is a mesh thing, which has extra layer of stuff in there to be able to ideally.
It's just smarter Wi-Fi, isn't it?
It's smarter Wi-Fi. It's Wi-Fi that's designed to handle multiple Wi-Fi access point hops along the way. Right.
And I looked into Wi-Fi 6. I looked at all the other stuff, and I was like, you know what? Nothing looks prime time yet. Nothing looks ready for. There's the beautiful Asus Gesundheit, Asus, whatever they're called. Beautiful IP6 three radio systems.
Yeah, Asus routers literally remind me of things out of sci-fi. Like they got the freaking crazy.
It's amazing, and their technology is beautiful, but apparently it's just not ready yet. It's just while it's incredibly fast, it drops. It keeps dropping and freezing and stuff. So
Well,
apparently.
not only that, but like,
Oh, thank you, Tweety Row.
It's you have to basically be in the same room with it. Like it's super. The
Right.
faster you go, the shorter the range is.
Yeah,
so
and
you're
I'm
good with your TP stuff.
Yeah, I got a couple. I've got three Ethernet cables down here, which are directed to the Ubiquity, which is then direct into the router. So that's good speed. And then my wife's got a couple of things upstairs, and I wired them. I haven't wired the TVs because honestly, I just can't be bothered, and it seems to work okay. It doesn't tend to stall that much. Although
it'll be
first night of
better
Batman.
once you switch over.
And first night of Batman there was a couple of stalls, but I think that's probably because it was the first night of people watching the Batman. That's probably what.
Oh yeah, that wasn't on your end. But yeah, all that stuff should improve when you switch over because you'll have more capable.
Right.
You'll have more access points, and it won't be sharing. Because right now, well, you said you already had 2 access points. So
That's
you're
my
already
hope.
Kind of spreading.
I know, but here's the other problem is I'm in a incredibly Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Oh my god, it's insane. There's like I think I can't. Last time I counted, there's like 25 networks.
My neighbors probably don't like me because I'm manually managing my own mesh, meaning like I'm not being very friendly on all the like I got 3 different access points in the house and they're all using 3 different bands.
Huh.
So I'm using like all of the.
Fine with me.
all of the channels.
I'm sick of it. Things were working okay for me, and then I think we had a new neighbor move in a couple of doors down, and they've got a Wi-Fi network that's popped to the top of the list, and I'm guessing it's just a new router. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'm beefing mine up.
You need to.
Yeah, I'm going mesh, full mesh.
Nuclear escalation.
Wi-Fi
Eventually
battles.
it's gonna be
Yeah,
lobbing nukes at the
yeah,
neighbor. Yeah,
that's it. Next up, I'll be like disconnecting their. I'll be climbing telephone poles and cutting their fiber. Alan, always a pleasure. We'll talk soon. And let's talk. Let's get throw some dates at me, and we'll figure out some Toronto time.
What is your? Is text the easiest?
Yeah,
because sometimes you'll go like days and not.
I know I'm terrible. Text is usually the best. Usually, yeah.
Okay. Well, this evening I will talk with my wife. We'll have to do it'll have to be some back and forth because I'm sure your dates aren't going to line up with my dates or whatever. So.
As I say, I'll find out if we're
going to be Jane's dates.
It'll be good if Jane's actually. I mean, well, the other thing is that I think Jane's going places, and I'm not sure. Jane's going places, and I'm not. I'm going to try to stay here as much as possible. So that's my goal. So, Jack Jasper's only got one other router nearby. See, I wish. All right, get out of here, everybody. Alan, pleasure. I shall say adieu. It was. Let's do it again soon. Sooner than last. Oh, God, however long that took time to do.
Okay.
It was insane.
Shouldn't we raid someone?
Oh, do you want to rate someone?
Yeah.
Oh, what should we
How
rate?
many people do we got in here?
What we got? Yeah, who do we have? How many people do we have in here? No
What's that
sense.
number?
No idea.
69?
Is it really?
69 people.
Okay, announce messages. No, I don't want to do that. I want to raid. All right, come on. Who have you got? Who you sucking up to today, Vibe Pup?
That's a good.
I just said we should raid. I thought you would have an idea.
Oh, I don't have an idea. I don't know. Who should I raid? Come on, people, give me an idea.
Someone that's actually doing something.
I got a lovely birthday message from David Blue. Is he streaming? We could raid him. He was checking in on me, making sure I was healthy and well and happy and all that stuff. Okay, so we're looking on Twitch to see who's. Well, Baz, do you know anyone? Baz probably isn't listening.
Nobody I follow is online.
Who have I got?
I don't follow many though.
Followed, recommended, online friends. Gimpy G, he's watching TechBandits. I don't see any. Do we see anybody? Is there anybody in there? I don't see anybody. Well, I don't see any small streamers that we would know. Do we know that? What else? Extra. Yeah, I don't know any of these people. I don't understand this. No.
That's okay.
All right, forget it.
Sometimes you just gotta let it die.
I'm just gonna let it die. I'm just gonna let it go. It's too early for David Blue. He usually streams at 8 p.m. PST. 8 p.m. PST. How's he up that late? I got to bed at 8 now. All right. This is the grumpy old man signing out. All right, be safe, be kind, be brilliant. Until we geek again, I will say adieu and huzzah! No, cheerio. That's our see, it's been so long. Cheerio and huzzah! All right. By the end of this, I'm going to have so many different things to say at the end of this that it's just, I don't even know why I bother having a wrap up because I always end up talking after it anyway. So, all right. Good night, everybody. Old Bandits signing out. Bye.